Hello. We got Gecko.
Everybody?
Oh, my mic was muted.
A Gek! A go!
To be fair, that is a good thing for before a stream, and it's a good thing to find out right as stream starts.
Yeah.
So yeah, hello. I have small boy.
Yeah,
Small boy,
he's
say
happy.
hello.
He's a happy.
He
boy.
is? Oh,
He
he's small.
looks like the derpiest mofo ever.
Oh yeah.
I love the description that they look like their one singular brain cell is the DVD screensaver bouncing around in their head.
Boink boink
No, absolutely.
boink 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 boink.
You're just waiting for it to hit that corner.
And then they have a thought.
Yeah, then they have a single thought.
Oh yeah, like no thoughts, head empty is the Crested Gecko vibe.
I'm there for it.
Yeah, me too.
This is Lauf, the little leaf boy.
Aww.
Aw.
This guy is guilty of at least one crime of jumping directly into a double sink that was full on both sides,
Oh no!
and somehow going through the gap in the dishes to go right to the bottom.
Nice.
Oh.
Nice.
I swear to God, an essential part of lizard ownership is the one time you fuck up real bad.
Yeah, I follow Snake Discovery on YouTube, and they have like a whole video about. And these are the snakes that we lost. We found some of them, but like we still have 3 snakes unaccounted for. We don't know where they are, but they're somewhere in the house probably.
I lost my boy over there in the tank off screen, Yorman, for slightly more than 24 hours, not
Ooh.
48. Inside a couch. And I say that as a point of pride, not because, aha, I lost my snake. Oh,
Yeah.
but genuinely because it was under 48 hours. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have to sit there for a week, like, set out heat pads. Like, I did sleep there in the same room, like, listening for a bunch of plastic bags to crinkle in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But, like, got him out.
You got him out.
One thing that was
all
really
good.
frustrating was my parents would, the entire time, were going like, "You lost your snake in the couch," really loudly, like stomping around, going, "I can't believe you've done this." And it's like, if you would just stop yelling and stomping, that would be really good for the long-term health of this problem. And they didn't, and that's why it lasted over 24 hours.
Or if you could somehow convince them to go on the couch and start stomping and being loud, then it would like.
Yeah, if you could if you could just like Miss Frizzle shrink down and go inside the couch,
Yeah,
and do a little
exactly.
stomping, it would work.
And Snake would leave.
No, like we took the staples off the upholstery, got the snake out, and then put the staples back on. Like it was.
Way
When
to go.
Snake wants to go home, Snake wants to go home. And, like, I have an adult-ass snake, like, 4 or 5 years old. The secondhand, I don't know necessarily how old. I got him at, like, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And, like, he eats maybe every, like, couple weeks. Like, he has a slow kind of metabolism. I've gone down a mouse size, so he eats more frequently. But, like, he wants to just hide for a week straight. He can outlive me. And he knows. For a very long time, I would feed him with tongs, and then he figured out what tongs were, and he found out that he controlled me by just fucking attacking them and getting me spooked and getting me to drop the mouse. And then he started just going directly for the tongs, knowing I would drop them, so I had to switch to hand feeding just because the fucker was too smart. And I know you can see me, and I know you can hear me saying this. Like, kinda kudos.
Aminals.
They're great.
My boy's getting a little restless, but in a hand walking kind of way. Anyways, how are you guys doing? Welcome to Stream Yada.
Oh, you know, existing.
Yeah. Quarantine vibes.
Yeah, quarantine vibes are fucking real right now.
It's getting close
Yeah.
to the year now, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't
Me-
remember the
yeah.
exact date that we went into it. Sometime around March.
March 14th.
Oh, okay.
I feel like my body has recognized the anniversary is coming up. I don't know how, but
You're just
We're-
getting the big red shit.
We're almost exactly a month off from 1 year.
Glowing like it's a video game item. You're gonna have to carry it through the end of the level. It's a secret nobody told you about COVID.
Yeah.
Now, I have a feeling that if COVID actually glowed, this quarantine wouldn't have been necessary. Just like one of the symptoms is you glow like your nuclear radiation.
I wanna argue, because of the fact that COVID looks like science from a scientist's point of view, which means it looks like a bunch of weird colors on a screen to most people. Like, most actual animations of COVID designed to show people what COVID looks like do glow, and it's usually red.
No, but I mean if the fucking people glowed. Like they were like a cartoon nuclear radiation character kind of thing.
And you have COVID-19 glowing ones.
Yeah, exactly.
They die from the virus, they blow up. Okay, my boy's getting a little restless, I should put him away.
Like, I feel like the quarantine wouldn't have been needed if that was one of the symptoms.
Yeah.
No, well, it still would have been needed, it just would have been like...
After COVID-19, I'm pretty sure that people would have just assumed that the government was doing it.
This is true.
Yeah. Blow up as a psyop!
Yeah, that is true. It would be a government conspiracy theory at that point, wouldn't it? Not fun.
Some people are dumb.
Some people are very dumb. Luckily, we're not those people because we've been in quarantine this entire time.
I haven't seen any of my friends in like a long time.
As of tomorrow, I think the lockdown is lifting, but not by much.
As of today, it lifted.
Oh, today's Tuesday. You're right.
Yep. But even still, the last time I saw any of you was when you were picking up gear from my place almost a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys needed the tripod and webcams that I had, and so
that is a reliable light bulb. Now that I think about it.
What, my studio light or what?
Yeah, like I've also just been using the one over and over because I figure that way, like the one will wear out, and then you just have to replace one bulb. So, like, if this blows, there's another studio light.
Yeah.
It's been a year of every week. Like, that's pretty reliable.
I buy good shit.
Speaking of reliable, but it's a lot less surprising because I end up, like, waggling and slapping this thing around at least once a week.
I thought you were going to refer to the bilge water because that thing is reliable as fuck.
Oh my god, I'm having a brain moment. What is the name of the item that I'm... Clipboard. There we go.
Clipboard. Clipboard.
Paper, because I don't have a clipboard.
You know, I am kind of glad that, like, at least I have a very dramatic kind of problem with thinking, so it's showable, and you can be like, okay, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you have the three stages. You have the 3 stages of not remembering a word. You recognize that you don't remember it. You really think hard about it. Then you get angry that you can't remember, and then you just say that you don't know what it is.
Because the thing is, you have the think word. You have the thought that the word is associated with, and it drives me nuts because, like, I spent my whole life, and I know that most, like, everybody in this chat, that's the one thing we all have in common is we were, like, reading book kids. And, like, so I have a very wide vocabulary, and that's my safety net because I keep forgetting words, but so many different words have that really specific think thing. And then the second that you have the think thing, but you don't have the word, you're sitting there going, bleh. Also, I went to French school, je suis bilingue, je parle français, like I'm bilingual, and there's nothing more frustrating than being around a bunch of bilingual people and having that happen in 2 languages at once, because it's like 2 different safety valves that have both failed.
I don't know. I think it would be more annoying if you were bilingual and you remembered it in the one word, but you're having a conversation in the other language.
Well, no, it's actually really useful if you're speaking with, like, bilingual people, because you're like...
Yeah, but if you're not, like, I don't fucking speak French, so if you were to just be like, yeah, it's blah, 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 blah. whatever the fucking word for clipboard is in French.
Our keyboard.
Okay, then I might have been able to figure it out in that
They
instance.
know what I meant. They're going to be mad at me, but they know what I meant.
Yeah. I might have been able to figure it out in that instance, but some words are not that simple.
I once put on a French test, and for the word for butterfly, I put "le fly the butter," and then the teacher made me stay after the test and like talk to her about it.
The thing that makes me laugh the most about that is that teacher probably pulled you aside because it was an opportunity, not because you needed like extra help because you fucked up. It was probably because it's like, this student's getting it. If I can just redirect a little bit.
No, this poor teacher had been like, every Monday morning I would go to school an hour early so she could try to get me up to speed on Ontario's French education. And she was like, Gabe, you're really letting me down here.
Oh, man. I find that hilarious because at least like here we're in Ontario where like we share a border with Quebec. Like people bleed over between Montreal and Toronto, like, and like in Manitoba you have a lot of Métis, but like in Saskatchewan nobody speaks French.
No, not even remotely.
Saskatchewan is basically the United States. It's not really that Canadian.
Yeah,
I think that's a fair. Yeah, it's closer to like the part of the states that
The Midwest.
Yeah, the Midwest. I was gonna say the one that old.
I feel like the Calgary Stampede is basically just Canada's Texas.
Oh yeah,
Alberta, Saskatchewan, and the rest of the prairies, as opposed to the Midwest, are a really good example for why borders don't really make sense. Because like it's kind of like it's a clear region that you can delineate with people who believe things and have history, but that's not where the lines are. And it's the same thing with the Midwest. Like technically where we live right now here in London, like we are the exact edge of the Midwest. We are the bit where the farms stop and the trees start.
yeah.
And then it's like Michigan and Ohio, and then you get like Minnesota and all the Fargo places, and then the Midwest ends, and it becomes either the prairies, or it becomes the Appalachians, or it becomes the Shield up north.
I grew up in the Shield, so
Shield is nice, good rocks, good trees,
good rock.
That's
nice
it.
lake.
End of sentence. Nice trees, nice rocks, nice lake. That's it, boys. Pack her in.
Yeah.
Nice trees, nice cars, nice rock, nice lake. Anyways, the officers rounded up the criminals, lowlifes, and wastrels. That's us right now. A vast ship, the SS Roanoke, is set to depart for unknown purposes. Narrowly escaping abduction, the low-life criminal wastrels of the SS Bilgewater fled to port to wait for the right time. The last thing they heard was all aboard for Imperial Soth. As the ship is loaded with innocents, it cannot be safely fired upon, even with grape shot. The plan? Lie in wait, start sailing and tailing the ship as soon as it goes around the eastern coast. Build zip guns for the abductees, smuggle them in when you make contact. Ideally, bring them home, though it's safer and wiser to let them stay here and free Soth. It's not clear why they were taken, but that's all secondary. The Bilgewater does not let people take people. Welcome to Bloodwine.
Hey,
I look at my hair every time that plays.
You watch it like grow and grow and then disappear.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. Or just grow
Whereas with Ben, it's grow and grow, and with me, it's same and same. And
just gotta keep growing this hair out. Let's see how long it takes.
The nice thing about being bald during a pandemic is that I can kind of just go and get a haircut whenever I want.
I'm jealous.
You could cut your hair, Ken.
No, I
can you,
can't.
Chelsea.
Yes, you can. You have scissors, I'm sure.
Okay. Technically, you are correct. I can cut my hair. No.
Valid. Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give you the short answer of no.
So, do you guys remember what time of day it was when we left off?
Absolutely not.
Noon,
Sleeping
because
time, I
that's
believe.
always the time of day.
All right, let's just do it this the way we do. Who wakes up first?
Son has to make gun.
All right, so you wake up, and you wake up to like a wheeze. Roll Brawn, Grace, or Delicate. But tell me which one.
I am rolling brawn.
I can't believe I forget to grab dice every time.
Oh, that's because I stole your dice.
Oh, did you take my dice?
I accidentally, yeah, I was just packing up all my dice, and it was in among them, so I have it here.
Of course
I
he
will
did.
say-
He's a goblin.
You
Yeah.
can see behind Gabe's head, there's like the Dice Goblin rack.
Yeah.
The custom-built dice rack.
Whoop.
So, like, it's very easy when you have that many dice to just go, well, it's probably all of them, right? And then just take all the dice.
Yeah,
Okay, so I actually don't have dice.
yeah. Which,
I guess I'll have to borrow some from Will.
well, I'm gonna be coming up.
I need
to
you guys to
London.
vamp. My dice are in the other room.
Yeah.
I guess Gabe and I are the only ones prepared with dice.
Well, no, and don't blame Chelsea for this because she did own dice that were her dice that I had gotten
But
for
that
her
doesn't change
specifically
the
for
fact that
this.
she still wouldn't have had them on her.
Yeah, no, I haven't looked for
She
that.
still would have had to get up and get dice. She
Yeah.
wasn't prepared either way.
I haven't seen them around, and if I had seen them around, I would have noticed them and maybe moved them over here. But yes, before the stream, I did not go looking for dice. So
Well, next time I'm up in town, I'll bring them to you.
okay, you also still have my keys.
Oh yeah, no, I totally do.
I feel like I walked away going, oops, gotta get my dice. And I came back into the middle of you guys, like, hashing out your belongings post moving out.
More or less.
Absolutely.
So long as
I-
it doesn't get into the board game collection, because I feel like that's where blood gets drawn.
True.
What? No, actually, blood gets drawn when I don't take away one of the couches. If I leave Chelsea with the nasty white couch, I think that's when she comes.
I will take blood. Yes.
See, the thing is, I want to be snarky and be like, which nasty couch, but I know which the nastier couch is.
There's two nasty couches. One of them is nastier.
Yes. Listen, if you took any time to examine the couches, you would know which one is the nasty one.
I have an amazing.
I do
couch
know
I
which
love.
one the nasty one is. It's
Okay.
because I'm pretty sure they were both the same color when you bought them. And one of them is brown and one of them is beige.
And they're both described as white.
No, see the thing is, you see,
What did you roll for brawn?
I've been fiddling with my dice. It's upsetting you called it beige because it originally was white. Okay, I rolled a 25.
Could you fucking imagine? You buy a couch in order to match your couch, which was originally white. Now it's beige. So you buy a beige couch, and now it's brown.
That's not fair. The other couch is like a dark green. So
Yeah. But,
So you hack up a lung, and you catch something on your handkerchief, and it's a little bit of like dark throat gunk. This time of year, you always get throat gunk, but there's definitely a lot of black powder. You've been spending way too much time in the munitions room.
Oy.
Son's immediate thought: kindling.
Yeah. Gotta strain it, get all the powder back. Well, I do. I do have to finish these guns, though.
Well, who wakes up next?
Probably Jane. I'll say
So
Jane.
you hear an almighty hacking, and you lean over slightly, and you're still kind of in the hazy, like, even if you have good vision, it's still hazy as you're, like, getting the gunk out of it first thing in the morning. You look over, and you see Sun take, like, a gray handkerchief away from his mouth. You blink, and you see him put away a white handkerchief.
Don't like that. Okay. I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that and get up, I guess.
Alright, you wake up, you clamber your way down the ladder, and you make your way out into the belly of the ship itself. You guys finish that big heavy run, so you're back to actual, like, dawn to evening runs. So everybody's kind of waking up at the same time, and you two are awake before everyone else.
Okay.
So, shoot anything good with a crossbow lately?
No.
Well, I'm gonna go get some coffee.
Okay, I'm gonna go up on deck and just look around, I guess.
Alright. You waking up, Jane? Or not Jane, Croquill?
Yeah, sure, I'll knock on Crowquill's door.
I'd probably be a little bit awake already from Sun hacking. Just be like, I probably imagine that I woke up and was just like, there's a sick creature nearby, and then I was just like, no, it's just Sun, and then like semi went back to sleep.
Okay, so you're drifting after thinking you're hearing a hack, and you kind of incorporate it into the morning dream you were already having, and then you hear a distinct, like, right against the edge of, like, where your curtains hung, and you're like, you do the big morning inhale. How do you deal with the exhale? Is it just like a calm, like, is it like a nice, or is it like an,
It is a incredibly slow, quiet, and calm exhale.
Alright, so with the measured, ease up. You can give a nice lurch creak over in the bed and toss the curtains aside. At this point, enough people are woken up that it's a cascade. Quickly, everyone in the ship is kind of groaning up. You can see, like, the doors open as Tiana and Bilgi are leaving the room. You can see the Rooker and Kennedy are both still inside, kind of getting ready. Rooker, you think is still asleep. You just see, like, a big pile of brown fur that you think is him, and then the door closes.
He may have
Tiana looks
shed.
over to you guys and goes, "So, what are we doing today? Sneak out?"
Well, I think we're following that boat and keeping our heads down.
Well, we have to wait for the boat to get here first.
Yeah, we gotta wait and then follow them.
Remember? Was it a galley, a brigantine, a brigandine, a brigand schooner,
There's
a gaff rig, aft
big
rig,
old...
rig, brig rig?
Nah, it's a
Big
boat. Boat, I'm pretty sure. Maybe a ship. Would you go that
Right,
far?
a
Call it a
ship.
ship?
Had
I
enough
would
Yeah,
days
I
to sink
consider it a
us.
ship. It was big though, right?
Oh, it's
Definitely.
huge. Had its name painted out and renamed, which shouldn't be too common.
What was it?
The
Ooh, the Ragnarok.
Ronaldson.
Ranokoi.
That's definitely it. It was the Ronaldson.
It was the Roanoke.
Oh, Rowan. Ah, yeah, of course, the Rowan.
I
You
regret
can't
the
even
comment kept
read.
down. It was definitely the Roanoke.
That's the sad part.
You hear a creak and you can see Rooker come out, just kind of adjusting his robes, going, "To be fair, Crockwell listens more closely than the rest of you. They're always looking at birds and shit.
I am always looking at birds and shit, and then I look over at the crew as I say shit.
You hear ah from Crockwell. Or from Warbles.
Alright, no need to insult the bird.
There's another door creaking open, and Kennedy comes out, kind of half holding his crutches, just kind of leaning against the wall. It goes to the door behind him and goes, "Coffee, gun." He
Coffee
comes
gun.
by, he bumps into a chair, braces himself against it. It goes concerningly close. He leans against a wall, shambles before the munitions room. Gun?
Coffee and then
the door
gun in
behind
that
him.
order.
Cool. Coffee.
Well, I'm going to go get coffee.
I'm
bringing a
not
cup
going to go
to,
get coffee. I'm going to go and do a scout. I'm going to do a nice wide scout with Warbles to see if
Everybody
they're
but-
early
so-
risers.
Crowquill, you get right to work. Everybody else just kind of looks at an empty, coffee maker, and then at Rooker, as Rooker is literally in the middle of a stretch, halfway, braced against the door, "You don't wet, do you?" He kind of grumbles over. You can see him awkwardly kind of shove a bunch of coffee beans into a grinder and start going So, Crowquill, you make your way up. Here, you feel the air is different. It's really humid, not just in, the fact that you're in the lower hemisphere here, but also because, in particular, it is, the rainy season. It must have rained nearby, and it's still somewhat humid, but it's probably going to be a while until the next storm comes. You know that you're close to some land masses. Want to roll specifically, I know they're the same role, but, the druid that deals with plants and earth.
Okay. Okay. So that is 21.
21. You feel your way around. You know you're a decent ways away, enough that the ship's far from being at risk. From two major land masses, one of them's bigger than the other. You can feel distantly that there's a bunch of corals and there's a bunch of reef underneath you, and then your kind of senses peter off.
Okay. Well, time to go with Warbles and do a long scout to see if I can see them, beyond what is a normal horizon.
Which direction are you sending Warbles, cardinally?
So, I am expecting them to come from the north and slightly east of us. I would say, north-northeast, I would be sending him. Because that's roughly where we went, except we ducked behind a little island. And I'm expecting them to go around the island and into port.
Alright, give me a roll. What about the rest of you guys? What are you up to?
A wild fucking guess, buddy!
Alright, give me some dice.
21 again.
I didn't ruin my build for nothing. Let's see. That is 20... 32.
Ooh, 32. Okay, roll odds or evens.
Okay, I'm going with evens. And I got an odd.
You sit there and you look, and there's 3 useless pieces of pipe in your hand that are the wrong length. You've just been kind of milling and not paying attention.
Ugh.
You lose the 5 copper that you spent this turn.
No. Boy.
Meanwhile, Crowquill above deck, you're using, was it Druid or Ritual?
Whichever one lets me see through, because I want to see I want to very specifically find that ship, which I think was Druid.
All right. So you you kind of like, you make your way up to the crow's nest, and then you loop your arms around in the same like rungs that you prefer, like 3 in from the one side, 4 from the other, because it's slightly comfortable, and then you get braced and you drop. You sense you're kind of piggybacking on the sight, but everything else is a lot sharper here. And you can see that there's a bunch of colors going up and down what you know to be the hookway. Warbles is going down into it because there's a bunch of shinies, but that behooves you. You can sense that there's a lot of disparate colors, but the purple and gold of the Empire, you see just kind of the normal amount. You're expecting a really big, really notable ship.
Yeah, I believe its description had it, like, very obviously renamed and repainted.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would expect to see that, because that would definitely stand out.
All right. So you kind of urge Croakwill to look for fresh, kind of glossy, goopy, shiny paint. What is Jane up to?
Holy ship stuff. Like, just straight up getting to work. It's not much else that Jane could be doing right now.
Well, ship stuff is a wide variety of things. What's the status of the ship?
I believe we repaired everything that needed repairing. Are we currently in our hidey spot yet? Or are we not yet in the hidey spot?
I think you were in the hidey spot.
I think we ended it off in the hidey spot.
That sounds
Okay.
right.
All right. So you guys are stationed here. You're waiting. At this point, Jane, you're walking around. You're just kind of making sure that everything's safe and sound. But you find that you've been spending the past hour just kind of going, yep, yep, yep. Well, you do another sweep, going back and forth, and you kind of reach the end of your rope and go, well, I think the ship might just be fine.
Okay, well, maybe I'll go see if anybody needs help with anything.
All right, you're puttering your way around. Want to give me a crafting roll, Gabe? Or no, you already did that. It's the early morning then. Ricker's gotten some coffee ready. He kind of asks around, asking what people want for breakfast.
I'm fine with some oatmeal or some porridge or one of those breakfasty kind of stews, you know. That'd be my vote.
Distantly, Croakwill, you get jostled out of the magic. You can hear, Croakwill, breakfast, what you want? And then there's a
Food, make it
lurch
edible.
as you're waiting.
Slip back in.
You go, food, make it edible. And then Rooker kind of goes, what? You'll eat anything. He goes back down. And then he kind of like stops, raises the hatch a little bit. Jane?
Whatever, I don't care.
He kind of just goes, hunk, and closes the hatch. What's everybody up to now?
Well, I'd like to finish this gun if I can get the roll for it. Fingers. Eyes failing. I've been crafting too much. Let me see. That is a 36.
36, alright.
Yeah, you literally just finished Auto, and then you went comatose for a little while after finishing that, and then you're like, alright, new project, time to kill myself.
Yep.
Alright, you got plus 23. Sorry, 24 from Ken and Yi.
Alright.
There's a scope on auto still, right?
Yep, there's still a scope.
I'm gonna see if I can wiggle it off.
Okay.
Between
So
you dismantling Otto in the most nonsensical of ways, and me doing magic shit with Otto, Gabe's just gonna kill us.
Alright, so you reach out to go and grab the scope, and then Otto, like, lurches back and avoids you and goes, "Oh, hey, getting a little comfortable, aren't you?"
I just want to look at some stuff.
Otto, like, you can see there is no rational reason for Otto to be changing the aperture like this. Otto is going out of his way to try and emulate a squint just to demonstrate, like, okay, fuck you. You see him, like, back up a ways, and then he, like, affixes something, this little whoop. He raises one of his shields up way away from his head, and you can see a display. And he goes, "What do you want to look at?"
And I want to look in the direction that the ship should be coming.
He eyes you, and he goes, "Just looking?
Just looking."
You trust the software?"
I give a big sigh at that.
There's a clunk, clunk from the shield going directly from where Otto is, like, hung to, like, genuinely the beam, like, hitches down and goes to the central pole that connects to the apparatus. Like, this is right above you, Gabe, as son.
Oh. Well, I just finished putting the finishing touches on my new gun here, so I might go up and show it off to Otto.
Yeah, what's your progress at?
My progress is at exactly what it needs to be. It's at like 2.55.
All right, so
I'm
you
coming
got
up.
You got a little bit of extra. You've got, like, extra bits of filings that you could like mix with the grease to get a bit of extra grit. So you're like, I'm gonna just swipe those off. I'm good. Let me just show everybody. Let me show Otto. Otto's gonna be able to use analysis and look at how great my bores are.
Yeah,
It's a single
Trotting up
fire
all happy.
gun. He walks up and is like, "Hey Otto, look at this."
Shit.
So
Hey,
what's the design of the zip gun like?
so this gun is a tube with one end has a handle with like a little hole there for you to honestly probably just use a tiny bit of elemental magic to spark it, and the other end is just cloth tied around it to keep all the powder and shot inside.
All right, so this is like the kind of thing that you could just shove in a pocket and then nobody would find it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very small.
All right, so you walk up and it's not even visible, and you see, like, Otto's there, like,
Before he gets there, like right after he does the bonk bonk, I'm gonna like turn to Otto and be like, "You don't need to be such a snitch," and then I'm gonna walk away.
So, son, you walk up, and Otto gives you like a vroom, vroom, and then looks back, and it's like, "Hold on, I blow out one of your eyes and I get fully disassembled. You threaten to pull out one of mine and it's gonna be fine. Hold on, what the fuck is this?"
Whoa! Hey! Who's pulling out? Who's Otto? You didn't take someone's eye out, did you?
So, son, you see also the same thing. There's no reason for the software to be doing this other than spite. There's a little, like, wince in the aperture, and Otto's like, "This one," and gesture towards Jane. "But you just go and grab the optics."
Yeah.
I give him the finger.
Jack, were you tampering with my gun?
I didn't touch
Otto-
the gun.
Otto goes and takes his shields and he does like a
Otto, did she try to touch you?
damn straight. She did tried to take the scope right off my damn head.
Again, I didn't touch the gun.
I'm proprietary hardware and proprietary software. Double protections. Don't even try.
Damn straight. Now, who do you expect me to believe? The infallible, unliable robot, or a thief?
Again, I didn't touch the gun.
All right, I accept that's technically true, but you were planning to, weren't you?
No, I only wanted the scope.
Look,
I can calculate faster than your reaction tribe. I plotted that trajectory. I saw it.
all right. Listen, we don't. Okay, let's all take a moment and cool down. Jane, don't touch my fucking stuff.
I give him the
Otto.
finger.
Otto, don't let Jane touch you.
You see Otto, like, just kind of zero, and then there's like a blimp, 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 and then there's like a light that goes off, and you hear like, coolant administered. And Otto goes, you know what, you're right, I think I may have overblown this. I understand that our bodies are not the same. I would appreciate if you acknowledged my machine consent and asked before unscrewing the fixture.
And I would appreciate it if you didn't touch my fucking stuff. It's not that hard.
That's someone else's stuff. You gonna fuck with Sun? Huh?
And then there's just Jane sitting there, or then there's just Croakle sitting in the crow's nest being like, I don't ask for consent when I literally take over his body. I don't ask Sun for permission. I keep fucking with this shit. She's just sitting there very quietly, like, thinking this to herself, like...
Listen, that's different.
So Croakle, very quietly in the back of your mind, you hear Otto's voice going, look, that's a level of discourse that the fleshies just aren't ready for, okay? Processing power separation it's different. Processing labor is a whole other level.
Yeah, but then basically it doesn't really matter. Croakle is just in the equivalent of the stage of like, yikes.
All right, are we done here? My job is to keep any of you from coming to harm. You know,
I've already walked away.
Okay.
All I'm saying is, like, if she asked, be more
Right.
than willing.
No, that'd be a completely different thing. You know, Otto, let me teach you about consent. If anyone tries to touch you and you don't want them to, shoot them.
You're right. I shred
You're
them
a
into
gun.
pieces, and then they're a cloud of meat.
Exactly.
Otto very slightly turns towards Jane. You can see the green light slowly turning red, and Otto's like, "So hostile."
No, not right now. See, she's backed off.
And then Otto goes from like red down to cautious, and then goes, "Stranger."
A low-level stranger.
And then Otto goes from the orange to like a blue, and goes, "Boundaries."
Yeah, that's the one. I feel like that's an appropriate sort of description. Yeah.
And then Otto immediately goes back to like the basic, like hard-coded, like initiating boundaries subroutine, and like there's a brief moment of like a progress bar that unhelpfully goes from 0, stops there for 10 seconds, goes to 1%, stops there for 20 seconds, goes to 66%, stays there for a minute straight, goes to 67 for 20 seconds, then goes complete. Then Otto goes, "Okay, I think I get it."
Perfect. All right. Well, I think I've done my due diligence here. I'm pretty good at negotiating and dealing with interpersonal stuff, and yeah, hopefully she won't touch your scope again.
And you didn't even have to use the gun in your pocket.
And I didn't even have to use the gun in my pocket. Oh, speaking of, check out this bad boy.
And all of you guys like wince as like Sun goes and pulls a gun on you.
This bad boy right here, I call him the underdog.
I'm gonna give you guys a minute to talk about the underdog.
Oh,
and
God.
Also all my wires.
What a freaking name.
Croakle is... You're up in the crow's nest, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
No,
You're gonna fuck
reason.
with me next?
No, I'm not gonna fuck with you. I was just gonna... I wanted to go up to chat, but it would probably be weird for me to...
Not really. You would just come up to see, like, a weird sort of bondage Croakle who has, like, is, like, strapped into the crow's nest so she doesn't fall off.
Not a huge fan of that analogy.
Well, I mean, like, I'm literally, I tie myself in with rope so that I don't fall off.
Oh, I see.
I'm not like hogtied hanging somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were trying to explain.
No.
Confused.
I'm literally, like, lying on the ground with my back up against, like, the board of the crow's nest with, like, my feet strapped, like, my feet tied in and, like, my waist tied in. And
Makes sense.
So it'd be no weirder talking to you there than any other situation.
I guess so.
Might be weird for you, but not for me.
I've been holding this in ever since we started stream. Jack Black is playing Claptrap in the new Borderlands movie that they're making.
Right. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know either.
I feel like he has the energy to do it justice.
Yes.
But it is such an iconic voice that I don't think that he can mimic.
Well, I also think that they're not going to make him because they probably just do robotic computer synthesization shit to make it sound like it. Like it's not a human voice.
Yeah, obviously.
I don't necessarily want that to happen to my good friend Jack Black. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm enjoying looking at Will's expression as he's trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
I would rather it be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because I don't feel bad about sort of like mangling his voice. He's done enough for us in Moana, you know?
Yeah.
But like Jack Black, that man's a treasure.
What is an uncreative boomer who inherited a trust fund trying to reboot now?
Oh, no, it's the Borderlands movie.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, so they're not even rebooting nostalgia. They're just rebooting things that are currently active series.
Yeah, it is a Borderlands movie where Jack Black is going to play Claptrap.
It's going to be terrible. It's going to be so bad.
It's really not going to have it.
Is there a single video game movie that was good?
Wreck-It Ralph.
Pixels.
The Mario Brothers movie.
The what?
You know, the one with the King Koopa, and he's like Dennis Rodman, and he has the the dreads. No,
I feel like that movie had potential.
Cornrows.
I feel like everything that people are mad about. You watch the movie, it's not bad because the Goombas are like people. It's bad because it was like put together by a bunch of people who were drunk and high because that's the only way they could get through it.
Mario, Luigi Mario.
You know what? Top 10 video game movies has to include gamer in it.
Crocodile, you can feel something reaching at you.
Oh, I don't like that. Before I do anything, I'm calling Warbles back. If I'm gonna be fucking with ritual stuff, Warbles is gonna be near me.
All right. So, how do you call out for Warbles? Warbles is far away right now.
Well, I have a way of sort of like signaling him to come back, right? Like, so
either ritually or through druid magic.
I'd say probably go through ritual and just signal him back.
All right. So you open the right that you maintain with Warbles, and you can feel that the thing that's reaching at you is Warbles.
Oh, okay.
There's something there.
Oh, okay. Whoop. What do you want me to roll for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Every single roll I've had so far has had at least one, and it's very disappointing.
Mm.
That's 6, that's 12, that's 22.
All right, you with ritual or druid?
I'm gonna go with ritual.
Ritual. Colors 1 big, 4 small.
Oh, okay. No, I need. I need eyes.
All right, you gotta roll again.
Yeah, I need eyes. That's another 22. I'm rolling very consistently.
All right, at this point you've maintained a consistent barrier between your druid magic and ritual magic is like theoretical, writing stuff on a blackboard kind of magic. So the barrier is not that big between the two. It's something you tread very often. You kind of just jump onto the druid side. You let your sensation shift, but not as deeply as when you drop right into the spell. It's more of a fade. As you look, you kind of... First, it's with the ritual. You feel... Because what are your levels? You're expert in both, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you're very, very used to this. You feel the magical signal like a sixth sense. Sure enough, there's colors. Colors means things. You've taught warbles what colors means, so you sense like a certain amount of like law and authority and big, like colorful ships. And then you sense the numbers. There's a couple of bigger and smaller ones, and then you see blotches of color, and then for a moment you see through warbles' sight. There's a lot of glimmering things, a lot of metal on all the ships. They must be heavily gunned out. There's a big one. You're not really able to count very well when you see through Warbles' sight. There's something about the link and like the level of things that doesn't work well. But at least more than 3 masts on the central one, and then there's several 2-mast ships encircling it, at least 4 of them. All of them, however, as Warbles... one thing that actually Warbles has way up against you that you don't have is that sort of internal kind of sense of direction. These ships are moving away from you. They're heading, like, westward away from you.
Like towards the blockade?
Yeah.
Shit. Am I able to see if the front of the biggest one, like the name of it at all?
Warbles can't read, but you can see the glimmer of glossy paint over, like, older, mattified paint.
Well, they're not going where we expected. Alright, I'm gonna, like, start climbing down. Like, I'm gonna have Warbles come back, and then I'm gonna climb down and relay that to the rest of the crew to see what we do.
Alright, as you're moving away, it's almost one of those things where it's like, instead of... Have you ever done, like, climbing or held the ropes for someone while climbing where, like, you hold a rope and then you let it slip a little?
Yeah.
And then you catch it again? It's like that. Like, normally when you're slipping away but leaving Warbles out to, like, scan around, you just kind of let the rope slip. This time you grab it a little to leave a pull as you leave the spell, and you can feel Warbles respond to it and go, okay, coming home, and picking up the direction. At this point, it's going to be a while before Warbles returns. Not like a while, like 10 minutes. But you have the time to kind of like, you feel out, your toes feel the edge of where it is, and then you start climbing down the ladder. You feel it kind of go sideways, you keep climbing, sideways the other way, you keep climbing, and then you contact the firmness of the deck.
Alright, everyone, so I've found what I think to be the Roanoke.
You're from Bilgi.
I'm gonna say the details of that there were a lot of numbers that you threw out, but the big one, you said it was 3-masted, then surrounded by 4 other smaller ships? Was that it?
You have the vague idea of what Warbles understood, but you're struggling to find the words for it, communicating to them. You know you have the right idea, you're just like, bleh.
Yeah, I'm just gonna continue playing that, just lay all the details, and then finish it off with, oh, and it's heading west towards the blockade.
Towards the blockade? Well, I guess they would just be let through the blockade, wouldn't they?
Right. No, they totally would.
Yeah, but they don't have that land. That's not their land.
No, but they might...
Mentioning, based on the scale of the seas, you didn't see them breaking from the hookway, you saw them joining it westward. So they might be heading past the blockade. Maybe even back up into, like, the Freedlands, but you tried to get away from there.
Huh.
Well, the way I see it, we're trying to make a little bit of money, and I'm personally trying to extend the Canadian Sun brand. And do some good and do what's right. So I say we just follow them wherever they're going. Wasn't that the original plan? It's just They're not going the way we thought they were.
Huh.
Yeah, let's just follow them.
I guess. I mean, they wouldn't expect the people that ran away from them in the northern part where we were to then follow them from the southern part. So I guess that makes sense.
I mean, not much one for tactics. I suppose I was just thinking, either way we go, we're basically walking into a war zone, following a heavily armed ship. You know, it's not like their destination changes how dangerous this is that much.
Warbles lands on top of Otto.
I mean, yeah, I guess so.
You got something to say, Warbles or Otto, or whichever one of you is speaking?
Both Warbles and Otto just kind of like observe you. There's the coldness of a computer like camera from Otto, and the coldness of like an uncomprehending animal from Warbles, and both of them are kind of just like, "Burr?"
Oh, that's frightening. All right, well, I say we follow them, and if things get
there's
hairy,
definitely an uncanny moment where you see both of them, and you're like, "Aha, cute," and then you see the cannons on the end of Otto, and go, "Aha."
Even cuter. Well, I say we follow them and head west, I suppose, and in worst case scenario, things get a little too hairy and we shoot our way out.
That's true.
Makes sense to me.
You guys start setting sail. Pull up that map screen. By now, it is the late afternoon.
Okay, yes. And I believe we finished the session, like, here-ish?
Yep. So currently, the wind is pulling you exactly the direction you need to go. In fact, you might be able to pull out your sails, the other ones, like the Jenniker and... Sorry, the general sail, rather, and really, like, pick up a lot of the wind directly downwind.
All right, let's do it.
I'm gonna go get some coffee from Ricker.
All right, you make your way down. You miss the call for coffee, but Ripker just kind of throws it into a nearby pot and then cleans the pot after the coffee's cleaned up. So you're able to get a warm cup. It does feel a little bit stale, but yeah, it's coffee.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you guys move right to the corner. Let me look at my own maps real quick before I send you off.
Wow, we actually did get some distance on that.
All right. So you guys are heading up. The map sector that you're looking for, Ken, is going to be sector F9.
Okay.
So I believe that's the one you're in?
We're in G9.
No. Yeah, G9 is right where you were between the two. I'll say that you're right before the sort of like top edge of the map in F9.
Okay.
Very quickly, you've caught up with the hookway itself. Here, you're in kind of like the central span where a lot of ships that are catching the wind with you are. They're not perfectly downwind, but the ships opposing them aren't perfectly upwind. They're kind of catching just the edge of where they're able to catch wind. So you're heading along the speedy route while everyone else is chugging upwind. You're very quickly kind of like maneuvering around and past. Who's at the wheel specifically?
I'll be at the wheel.
How do you steer now that you're in basically the highway?
Very casually. Thinking about something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like one-handed on the thing, like.
You're there at 12 o'clock, like, no, like.
Yeah, kind of.
Putting a bit of weight on it. Going, all right, you kind of like steer lazily past, you haze past a big cluster of them. It's not the fastest. You're letting clumps of ships slow you down, but it's easy for people to look out into the distance. Everyone else is squinting, trying to get a good look. At this point, Bilgy walks up to take the steering wheel. He goes, "You got better eyes than us. You see that thing ahead?"
I look. Do I see that thing ahead?
What skill do you use? Because you got good eyes, but you also have brain.
Would be better if you had auto scope.
Okay, our ideas.
Could I use a weapon for this?
Yeah, you could use your weapon skill.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
All right, give me a roll.
All right, let me.
Do you know how many?
19. No, sorry. 21.
21. You take out your crossbow, and you've got one of those adjustable sights, especially because it's a crossbow, it arcs pretty hardcore. So you're kind of like, you're using your sight to measure it out. You go, okay. You see there's a couple of multi-masted ships, but there's a cluster of them, and they're big Imperial ships. Like, of all the nations, they're the Empire. They use big gold and purple sails. Really obsequious and obvious. And you can see there's a cluster of them up ahead. You're ranging out their distance. They're probably they're above 300, but from where you estimate beyond the 300, where you normally use where you're sniping, and there's a little bit of trust and a little bit of luck in your shot, they might be like 400, 450, maybe.
Okay, I'll relay that to Bilgy.
So you're there at the prow of the ship, having moved ahead and braced against like the edge to kind of like measure out the distance. Bilgy kind of goes, "Yar, take over if you want, or I'm good." Leans back into the same thing. He's kind of got the same steering style. He's a slow cruiser. He'd rather be at the edge of catching them than the edge of like raising their suspicions.
Yeah.
What's everyone else up to? By now it's getting into like the late morning, closer to noon times.
Do some crafting.
Give me some roll.
Huzzah! Huzzah! Oh, that's not very good. That's only
With plus 22.
with okay. Plus 22. I'll just get a calculator.
Because Gabe is doing some crafting.
All right, that's a total of 51.
I'm gonna go up to Otto and basically just be like, "Hey Otto, remember when things got a little heated and you got a little bit of heated?"
At this point, Otto turns to you and goes, you see him kind of like furrow a little bit performatively, and then there's a clink above his head and the little display pops out. It's very much like an early 2000s, like a big chunky faux CRT that clunks out. And he goes, "There's like 5 different incidents I'm thinking of right now. You can see them listed out with like numbers and dates."
Remember when I almost boiled you?
Oh, and then you can see the screen like switch, and you can feel like there's a magic to it the way the dwarven crystals do. So you can feel whenever the displays switch and there's a clunk. It's like when you could hear CRTs in different places through the house and they turned on and off back in the day. There's like a left and a right in the magic. So you're kind of sitting there, and there's a moment where you're just like, okay, this is just annoying. You're like switching, but I can't actually see anything. Just tell me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't know. Interpersonal interaction circa 3 days ago?
Would you like to maybe, if I could see if we don't do that in the future? In mechanical terms, in ways that you'll understand, make sort of a magical exhaust. That's what Sun's always talking about, exhaust, right?
There's like a glaze over, basically, that you get from Otto when he's like, I don't. Can you? Sorry, I don't get it. Like,
See, we fleshies
Was
have
there-
these things called emotions, and when that runs hot,
oh, okay. You want me to lower? Do you want me to raise empathy or lower threshold for anger?
no, I'm saying, would you like me to perform some rituals on you so that that doesn't happen, so that you don't overheat if that happens again?
I'm a robot. I can just code that. That dealing with coping with becoming a better person, that's a fleshy thing. You just tell me 23% empathy and I got it.
We'll see if that works. That's fine. We'll see if that
gracious.
works.
Okay, so, and immediately, like, there's a bit of a cock to Otto's head that's a little bit mean, and Otto's like, oh yeah, that works? That works? Is it? Okay. Oh, let me just put that works into, oh, what do you know? String not valid as integer input. Come on, give me a number.
Just don't worry about it just yet.
You can hear a quiet fan going as Otto goes, yeah, I won't worry about it, and the fan just keeps going.
You're gonna be a snarky dick about it. Never mind.
A second fan goes.
I raised him well.
So you guys are cruising down the highway. You want to pull up the map real quick?
All right. All I
You
want
guys,
is
is your focus on catching up and getting a good angle on the ship so you can observe, or are you just trying to keep up?
I would say what we want is to sort of, because I'm imagining they're gonna go south at some point, so I want to position us so we can like turn into that a little bit better.
Okay, so you're staying on the right side of the highway so that you can potentially turn in towards the blockade if they make that move. But otherwise, you're following them. You're a little bit conspicuous, so you have to tuck behind and dodge between a few ships every now and then, but otherwise, you're doing okay. The wind moves to a more direct westward pull, which is unusual for this time of year. You're sure that there's some kind of storm that's going to follow. You have to slow down a little bit, ease up your sails so you're not too obvious. The ship moves 2.5 squares, and then a little bit downwards towards where the grid line is. You can see them keeping with the highway. They haven't started a turn yet. If they were going to make a slow, gradual turn to save time, they do it now, but there's still time where they might pull off the road. By now it's getting closer to noon. What's everyone up to?
I'd say I'd probably be casting. I think I still have that ritual on the railing where it makes us less conspicuous, less easy to see. I think I would want to be casting that so it's harder for them to sort of be like, suspicious ship.
At this point, you have a bunch of stacked magic on the edge of the ship. As you start casting around magic, trying to set up a new ritual, it just kind of is unstable. You would have to start dispelling things and building them from the ground up if you wanted a different vibe. At this point, there's this repulsion, like a very standoffish, piratey, none shall board me vibe. Especially with sailor magic, things stack and interact in weird ways where you might need to just kind of clean everything off the ship before you put more magic on.
I want to say that I pull out like a really tiny broom and start like dusting off the banister to sort of get rid of this ritual, but I don't know if Croco would actually have a broom, and I don't know what an equivalency would be for dispelling magic.
Aren't you from like the caves near Redwine?
Yeah, pretty much.
Feather duster. Within your ritual tools, you probably have a feather duster that you use the way that you would like a wand or a broom, kind of being like, and so I clean thee and I dust thy magic off.
So Crocool just pulls out a random feather duster and starts going over the banister.
Want to give me a ritual roll?
Alright, let's purge this. Okay. I still have ones in these rolls, and that's not 23. Like, I'm rolling good with the other dice, but I keep rolling ones in at least one of the dice.
As you're starting to cast, Bilgy asks if you want a hand. Someone else is going to have to take over the wheel, though.
I'd be willing to take over the wheel for a little bit.
All right. You make your way up, and you grab onto the handles, and there's this really uncanny moment where you grab onto the handles, and you're like, haha, 1 1/16 inch, and then you realize what you thought to yourself, and there's a sort of dark moment of like, holy shit, how long has it been since I've seen light? And you start steering and just kind of glaze out a little bit. Meanwhile, Bilgy comes out. He casts of his own hand to help you out here. You see him you hear him more so, like there's a big thump and a flop. He takes out a mop. So you had a 23, you said?
Yeah.
So that's going to be with plus 14.
We're just cleaning the ship. That's all we're doing.
So, Jane, you're here, like, adjusting the sails and, like, keeping everything in tie with, like, Sun with the steering wheel, right?
Yeah.
So you're watching as you've been trying to keep the ship clean as, like, Bilgy and Rutger uselessly and performatively are, like, muttering, like, and may none, may no man be gone, all of the blah, blah, blah. And, like, Rutger is sitting there just uselessly sloshing water all over the deck as, like, Bilgy comes in with the mop being like, aye, and so this is my ship, blah, 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 blah. Like, just muttering to himself, and you're just there like, I just cleaned this. You're not making it worse, but you're not helping. You're just having a moment. Have fun. I don't know.
Nice.
It is the early afternoon. At this point, Rutger, after having sloshed a little bit of water on deck, kind of just goes, okay. He also kind of like, he gives a bit of a look to you, Jane, being like, why do I share a room with this guy? And then he kind of shrugs and goes downstairs and starts cooking up lunch. A little while later, you have like quick kind of pan-fried fish sandwich thrown together. Who's doing what during the early afternoon? And where are we on the map?
Those are excellent questions.
Bring
us the map!
We are slightly above the blockade.
The wind is actually picking up in a way that's slightly concerning. How, not in terms of stats, but just in terms of character background, how familiar are all of you with sailing at this point? Being out on the ocean, the pull and push of all that stuff.
Sun is definitely used to it in terms of existing, but is probably more annoyed by it than anything. Like, it doesn't feel like home, certainly.
I've only been sailing for like 2 years max. Like, being on the bilge water is literally like my first thing.
What about
Yeah.
you?
Jane, I think Jane has been on the go, on the move since she left her parents' place, so she's probably pretty used to being on the boat.
All right, so Croquill is what, Jane, you would know as kind of being like, just kind of like a dockyard scoundrel. Someone who isn't necessarily a sailor, but that's useful from the boat for a boat, but like, you know, like worst case scenario, if a job goes wrong, you just dump it back on the docks and keep going. You're like an actual sea person. And then it's the same thing with Sun, but Sun is more of like a higher on. Like Sun's got his room that he does his stuff, but he's not like a sailor. So both of them are happily like, wow, wind's picking up. We're going real fast. You know that this is a vortex that's probably like about to precede a storm here. There's a lot of wind coming, but you might have to start slacking up the sails any second the moment it reverses.
Okay. I get ready for it.
Ooh. It's nice up on the deck. You know, the wind in your hair and not having to worry about who's touching your robot while you're gone.
You make it just shy of 4 squares, almost to that little, like, island to the north. The entire time, you're waiting on the sails, both waiting for the storm to hit and waiting to turn off into the blockade, but it doesn't happen. They're staying on the hookway.
So they're not heading to south at all.
No. You don't think they dumped their prisoners somewhere and then a different boat has taken them here, eh?
At this point, Kennedy, like, he's long since made his way out of the munitions room. You smelled a little bit of a reek. He's getting a bit of a relaxation going. He goes, I don't know. They're prisoners. We would have seen something, right? Were you paying attention? He gestures over. Were you paying attention?
I mean, we lost the boat for a bit. We're waiting for them to catch up with us. They wouldn't have had much time for a transfer.
I mean, that is true, but where did these other ships come from as well?
Yeah.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. I'm not eager to run the blockade a third time. I'm sure they're getting wise to our tricks by now. Our plan was to follow this guy, and if they did switch prisoners, they're miles in the other direction by now. I say we keep trailing these guys and see where they go. Either they have the prisoners or they don't, and then one of you rough types could go in and get information on where they put them.
Tiana leans in and goes, you're right. They're staying on here. Maybe they're going past south. Maybe they're going to Celestia.
Oh, right. Well, maybe let's running the blockade's not so bad, right? Right? We did it before.
They did say they were going to south.
Well, maybe we should stay here and wait and see if another ship full of prisoners comes by and tries to run the blockade. Now that I'm thinking about it.
The blockade has moved well past your 9 o'clock. By now, it's like at your 11 o'clock.
Will, I'm gonna Omen watch this. How do I feel about prisoners being on the ships that we are following? Do I have a positive feeling that they're there or a negative feeling?
The presence of... Sorry, just flat out the presence of prisoners?
Yes.
You sense that there are people that are... You get a little bit more than you bargained for. You get more of an omen than you expected, like a bit of a mystery here. You feel out for the birds in the sky, the directions they go. It's like... It's augury. It's more of like a sailor thing, watching the patterns of the birds, but because you can feel them with your druid magic, it's effectively the same thing. You know that certainly there's plenty of prisoners on board. That is like a given no matter what. There's no way they pulled some fast like switch in the middle of a highway. They definitely still have them on board and they're being escorted.
Okay then, that's enough for me.
However...
Oh crap.
They wouldn't have this many guards if they were just going to drop them off at Celestia and go. Moreover, Celestia doesn't just want random prisoners. They want specific prisoners back. That's what you get.
They're not heading to Celestia. And they definitely still have the prisoners. This is what I think.
Where are they headed?
Excellent question. Swear to God, if we end up back in the red coat.
So you mutter this to yourself like, oh, a red coat, and then Bilgy goes, No, for real, they changed their names. This couldn't be that, could it? What do you remember from that whole...
Only what the paper said.
Let's just follow the ship. We're getting down rabbit holes.
Yep. Yeah, let's, we can follow the ship, and if we change our minds, we can always turn around.
What do you three want to do? Just slowly tail the ship?
I think we should tail the ship.
Yeah. If the prisoners are on board, then there's no point in then veering off, and I don't even care if they go to Celestia. I don't like being in Celestia, but I'll deal with it.
Yeah, it's your guys' ship, wherever you're going. My workshop's on it.
Jane?
I think we should tail it. Let's tail the ship.
All right, all of you are steadfast. You decide to keep tailing the ship. It is now I said it was the late afternoon, right?
Yes. Early afternoon, late afternoon. We were having lunch.
Okay, so you just had lunch, so we went through the early afternoon as you were tailing them. Now we're getting closer to the late afternoon. What's everyone up to?
Ship stuff, probably.
Honestly, yeah, I purged the ritual, but I'm probably back on the ship stuff.
All right, you get the last little bit of kind of sweeping and dusting done. There's magic off of it, and at this point, it's one of those things where you'd rather the ship just settle with a bit of lack of magic before you start throwing magic on. The ship isn't even remotely safe ritually. You've just stripped everything valuable and protections off of it, but it's just, you gotta let it rest. And at this point, there's so many other ships in the highway that any magic is probably going to pick up different ships and start following them. So you kind of just go, okay. You settle in, you just start adjusting sails and checking ropes and feeling them out and seeing if you need to swap out, tighten little screws on the edge of railings, that kind of thing.
Is there a anti-prayer that I could... Because I'm a demon touched. I don't want to go anywhere near Celeste. Sun doesn't know anything about ritual. I feel like Sun, in almost the opposite of like a deathbed confession, is like, is there some ritual he can do to try and like ward himself from the dangers of Celestia?
Roll demonic.
Okay, that's 1.0 magical. I got a 2.
Not bad. Could be worse.
Could be worse. Could be worse by 1.
So, in particular, you can notice that Bilgy's picking up on it as well, but Croquill, you feel a searing in one predominant direction. You get a vague sense of direction because of your uplink with Otto, but like, in the vague direction of Celestia, there's a heat of fuck you that's put together. You can sense some demonic magic. Demonic magic is a lot more punk in the way it's phrased. There is an aura of fuck you about the ship in that direction.
I don't suppose I can add my own Darkling fuck you to that.
Give me a roll.
For dark magic?
Yeah.
Okay. 1d6 plus 10. That's 14.
All right. You see the storm coming, and there's little kind of flits of black and red in there, bits of storm and royal. You can distantly hear kind of a bit of a burning to it. At this point, the sear of fuck you is really starting to sizzle in. It's not quite dark, not quite demonic. It's a bit of a transitional magic, the kind of thing that generally beings don't put their energy into, but you guys with your kind of innate connections to magic, you're able to tap into to a certain degree. There's kind of a grim disappointment in the direction of Celestia.
I'm picturing like the Sea of Thieves, how they have like the clouds that have different things in the air.
Oh yeah, no,
it's
like
just a giant middle finger. some kid is on the highway being like, "Look, Dad."
Honestly, that's exactly what would happen. There's a vague, like, ashy smoke collecting in the clouds, and it's in that rough shape. You guys have made it about a square and a half. At this point, they're breaking off from the hookway, and you have a moment where you can kind of pick to lose time and snake around the island to be extra inconspicuous. Or you can follow them and potentially be a little bit caught out in the open. You can see that they're moving away from the hookway southward, and the storm is really about to bear down on them.
Well, are we worried we're going to lose them in that storm?
The last thing we want is for them to be suspicious of things. So I think even if we do lose them, they're heading south. So we should be able to find them.
Yeah, I do like the idea of going around the island and being sneaky about it.
All right then.
Okay, it's getting closer to dinner time. Rooker's, you can hear the clanging. Rooker got to dinner a little bit later. He was tired, he went for a little nap, and then you heard like an, oh shit. Like, it's one of those things where by the time you're thinking of dinner, Rooker just started, like, getting food ready. So you're thinking of dinner for like 2 hours. What's everyone up to?
Well, if we're going up against Celestia, we're going to need guns. Craft.
All right, you have plus 26.
All
A
right.
really good roll from Kennedy. What's the status? How many guns have you churned out?
One and a bit.
The one you've got ready.
Yeah, I just have the one I got ready and a little bit more.
Okay, so you're most of the way through the next one?
Yep.
All right, so you've got the actual like tube ready. Currently, you've got most of the handle assembly good. You just need to get the last of the pins and like screws ready so it can like get ready for the next bit, and then you'd have to pack the round in, but that's the least bit of work, and that's the end of the gun. So you might be able to arm 2 people for 1 shot or 1 person for 2 shots.
Yep, that's about the looks of things.
I would say that I'm helping Rutger just in case Rutger is needed to do ship stuff.
All right, you make your way up. Rutger kind of shrugs and he goes, honestly, usually Bilgy takes over if I need to, but I could use you stirring this.
Okay.
You have no idea what it is. You grab it, you give it a bit of a jostle, and then there's a wave of it. Looks like maybe it's some kind of gumbo of some sort.
Okay.
Not fish. You distinctly, given that you're seafarers and most of what you eat is some sort of fish or seaweed base, not fish. Very
fish.
different.
I'm excited for not fish.
Bird.
I wasn't going to bird. I distinctly did not say bird. This is not the last campaign.
All right, there's a bit of food that's served up. What's everyone's health at? What's your stamina?
I'm at 101.
Probably at exactly 100 at this point.
Let me see here. Gotta do some calculations.
Okay, so basically, like, Croquill and Jane, you guys you've been eating, but you've been not training necessarily. You're feeling healthy, but you're not feeling frosty.
Okay, my stamina's at 180.
You are at the top of your game. It's one of those things where you're at the heat of your self-destructiveness, where you're definitely coughing up like gunpowder colored mucus, but you're producing things at peak capacity. You're very well trained and readied.
Oh yeah.
Everyone else around you is kind of sluggish though.
Crack, 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 crack.
It looks like the ships up ahead are churning forward a little bit further through dinner.
Going through dinner? Those monsters.
Well, they probably have enough crew to, do shifts.
Good question. Who is currently steering the ship, and who is actively spooning a spoonful of whatever was prepared?
I'll be steering the ship.
Jane?
I'm looking at the dog. Sorry.
Distracted by
Let's get
Gordon.
a full... Yeah, die.
Boy!
She sleep.
She sleep. She do good sleep.
Yes.
What's Crowquill up to? Are you getting food, or are you taking care of the ship?
I guess I'll get food. I
Alright,
want
so you're
us to
Rolodex.
get a little bit off, because I'll take over for the next shift, because we'll be away from the highway at that point. And Otto can sort of be my guide on that one.
I'll go get some food too. Why not?
All right, so let me reiterate. So, Sun, you're taking care, but everyone else is getting food?
Yep.
All right, so you're above decks with Kennedy and Tiana, and everyone's kind of scuffling back and forth, taking care of the sails, so you can hear everyone clattering and getting food. And you're kind of just sitting there, and you're aware that this is extremely petty and impatient, and it's just a gut feeling, and it's not rational, and it's not reasonable for you to be angry. But second by second, minutes pass, and you're thinking, oh, that's like a sausage gumbo of some sort? Ooh, it's spicy? Ooh, it's not fish. There's no fish. Okay. And you can just smell and hear the clinking of metal cutlery on porcelain plates, and you're like, people are eating, dinner is ready, something's going on, but you have to keep your eye on the road. The storm is currently reaching ahead here. It was kind of turning southward, and then it quickly goes northward. The ships themselves, the main one, you can see them struggle, and they lose a lot of distance because they're big, unwieldy ships, but you guys are quite maneuverable. You're able to keep up with them. They start turning southward, away from the storm and away from the crack. They're taking advantage of the winds now. They're playing it a little bit fast and loose with the storm. Not necessarily in an irresponsible way. The way an inexperienced sailor might do some stuff that seems dangerous to someone inexperienced. You guys make it. Just about 3.5 squares southward. You're keeping it close to the coast. The extra wind, especially with the fact that they're lagging, helps you kind of cluster against the side of the rocks, make kind of weird maneuvers to make it look like you might be a fishing boat, or you might be lost travelers trying to find a road. You're puttering around a little bit. By now it gets close to evening, and you can see they're coming to a bit of a stop. If they are Navy or sailors, they're not on high alert, and they're not on urgent duty. They're coming to a stop at a normal nighttime hour. In fact, if you guys snuff your lanterns, you're wilier, you're more conniving, you're harder working than they are. You could get a bit of an edge on them in the night.
Well, I mean, so long as they're truly stopping for the night, I don't necessarily see the point in creeping up on them, right? Or we're about as far back as...
So, Kennedy says this as he's actively uncorking a beer, but he's going you're right, saving our strength and cautiously observing, using the opportunity to stay at a distance is the best choice tactically. And he takes a drink, and you can see Rooker and Bilgy both looking at him so we're stopping then. But both of them kind of shrug and go, you can hear them talking overlapping, you're right. Oh, yes, that actually is I don't want to admit it, but oh yeah, that's right. And then you can see both of them kind of wander off to go grab a couple beers themselves. It's a stakeout.
Ooh.
It's the evening. What's
Well,
everyone up to?
It's time for me to cast my ritual on the rail
All right.
to make us
Oh,
less
there's-
conspicuous.
right, just before people go to sleep, I wanna go craft it. Before people go to bed. So I'm not banging in the middle of the night.
Oh,
So there's a brief moment where you and Tiana look at each other because Ken and Yi kind of goes, okay, I'll craft a little more. The way that like Ken and Yi usually says, okay, I'll go to bed early. And there's a pause. And then Ken and Yi kind of like blushes a bit and he goes, the work is important. And he goes into the munitions room.
So I mean, I don't. We don't have to. If there's something else you'd rather be doing, I'm just a little anxious is all. Trying to keep my mind off things.
Tiana is blushing really, really red and kind of gives you an up and down and then looks away like hurriedly, like, yeah. I'm gonna, and Tiana doesn't finish the sentence, just starts clambering up the rails.
Poor Tiana.
All right then.
You awkwardly make your way back into the munitions room. Kennedy is just like milling away at the mechanisms, like the trigger mechanisms he has to machine out. Okay, so do you have that pipe section or?
Yeah, no, I do. I was saying I was saying you don't have to if you don't want to Kananye. For the record.
You heard vague like noises.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. We're sanding away. We're about 2 craftings away from having a completed gun.
All right, you have plus 18 from Kennedy. He's getting a bit tired.
Yahoo!
So does that make for a crafted gun and a bit extra, or is that slightly under?
That's slightly under.
All right, so you hand off the last little bit of materials, and you can see Kenya kind of just like staring at the trigger mechanism, and he sees it go down. And normally you see him like enthusiastically go to start screwing things in, but he pauses a bit, and it's like, oh, okay, time to go to bed. And he's like, yeah, go to bed. And he gets out of the workshop.
Man, sure I'm glad my good friend Canonier is mentally well and happy.
How is Croquill?
Crowquill's doing great. I rolled a 31 on that concealment ritual for the ship.
Ooh. All right, so tell me about this concealment ritual in the most Yar-worthy terms. Preferably if you can make it rhyme. Because if you rolled a 31, like, I haven't added Bilgy. Bilgy's helping.
Oh, Will, you can't do that to me on the spot. I'm terrible at rhyming, and I'm terrible at yar.
Well, it's not on the spot. I'm gonna take a long.
No, because it doesn't help.
of
That does
this-
not help.
Well,
We're standing on a
Look.
stage here. That does not help.
all I'm saying is you already got the 31. You have the safety net. The ropes, the harness is ready. You have the safety net. It can be bad. And that's a.
Can you make it rhyme?
I can.
It's gonna be a plus 14. What's the number?
Well, plus 14 is a
45.
45. So, where sky meets sea, you'll not see me.
Ooh. That's a
Oh.
pretty good one.
Mm-hmm.
And Bilgy helps out and he goes, "For where you spy." And he leans back in to finish the quartet towards Croquill.
You'll not find I?
And there's a snap, you and Bilgy both, and then you repeat it a few times to settle it in. Like, what was it again? The whole thing?
Where sky meets sea, you'll not see me.
And where you'll spy, you'll not find I.
Yeah.
There's a snap, and it pervades the ship. Here, where beforehand the ship kind of forced and shoved its way through the water aggressively, you can almost feel it wobble differently, where now there's like a misting and a foaming and a bit of a sea spray and a haze about the ship.
It's pretty good. Honestly, that feels very Yar.
It's pretty Yar.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to rate it, a number of Yars, youtube.com/MissionCrow to post in the comments of this video, how many Yars would you rate the Yarners of like it's
Yeah.
like and subscribe.
I'd give it a couple of Yars for
I'd
sure.
give that a couple of Yars. Though that's not the best Yar, but
I'm happy with it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Croquill and Bilgy are also just like Yar.
Yar.
In that case, it's now the evening proper. It's past supper. It's getting close to like the clink glasses and then go to bed hour a night before it starts to be when land-based adventurers might do their night watch. You guys don't have to worry about shit because you're on the water. If it's big enough to be a problem, you see it coming. Or you're dead already.
Yeah, Sea Demon will just fuck you up.
Yup.
What's everyone up to?
You know what? Croquill doesn't usually partake in alcohol because not being able to walk around steady is hard enough on a ship.
Fair enough.
But she's proud of that. She's really proud of that ritual. She's gonna crack open a cold one and have one. Just
Just kind of muttering to herself like, you can't see me.
Yeah, Jane will join. She'll crack open a cold one with the boys.
Sun is probably gonna go to turn in early. Big day of making guns tomorrow.
Alright, so son, you kind of like lean off to bed. Ken and Yi makes his way over to the room, but then heads back out of the room with Tiana. Both of them grab a couple drinks, and then the four of them with the pair, Jane and Croquill, all of you are sitting along the edge of the bow of the ship, kind of staring out over to where distantly you can see all these Imperial ships. They're Imperials. They're the government. They don't need to hide from anybody. They're lit up to the nines while you guys have all your lanterns off and you're dead quiet in the night. Everyone else is kind of getting a bit of rest, or they're stretching, or they're like cleaning up and doing the dishes. You guys are just kind of against the bow of the ship. There's a creaking back and forth. We're having a couple beers. What's everyone drinking?
Pick your poison.
I have a feeling it's a Bloodwine equivalent of White Claw. The label has like the claw of like an alpha bear wolf like distinctly portrayed.
So it's Reddy Claw, Reddi. You forget why? Not necessarily because you fully forget, partially because you're willingly forgetting that, like, especially after the war, there was like a ready dash based movement for like a lot of luxuries being made in a rush after the war. So like Reddy Claw is genuinely like someone made this in a still in a week straight, and now you have a vaguely raspberry tasting alcohol.
Reminds me of home.
It's 8% alcohol, mostly raspberry. We don't ask questions about the rest of the percentages. You knock the
It's
shit back.
cheap. It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's 100 minus 8 plus most?
Tiana shrugs and then takes another one off of the six-pack ring, kind of goes and takes a pocket knife, cuts the little loop open, and cuts the other little loop open, dings it in its Croquill's, and then takes a drink. Bilgy's in the middle, not Bilgy, sorry. Kenny's in the middle of drinking, like, you know, like the bougie, like, it's beer, but it's in a big bottle? Like one of those beers. That's what Kennedy's up to.
Big bottle.
Okay.
What is Jane up to?
Drinking with the boys.
Drinking what?
Yeah, probably one of those raspberry things, like one of those things, and then maybe having a beer next. Like,
All right. So you lean over, you take one off. Do you borrow the pocket knife, or do you have your own pocket knife?
I'll probably borrow the pocket knife.
All right, you take it. You quickly grab the pocket knife. You slice the little ring of the six-pack open, and then you pass it back. It isn't like a plastic ring; it's like a twine ring, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same. You crack it open and slam it back. A little bit of time passes. You can see that the ships aren't moving. It looks like they're settling in for the night. The ships that are patrolling around them were patrolling in slow circles, and they're not stopping.
Okay.
Okay.
As you get closer to like the early night, you can see Rutger kind of toddle up after you hear the last of the dishes kind of being put away. He makes his way up. He leans against the mast and goes, "Are you staying up a while? Going to bed? I was going to do a watch."
I'll stay up a little while. I like the nighttime.
You can hear like a couple of the nearby boards kind of creak as Rooker and all of his buried goodness kind of creaks against the edge of the ship nearby and goes, ugh, leans against the mast. Anyone heading to bed, or is everyone else kind of staying up a little bit late?
Definitely staying up late.
All right.
If everyone's gonna be staying up late, then I'll be the one that turns in.
All right. So, son, you're at the kind of gray area of sleep where you can hear that people are kind of quietly gathering above, or you can lean into the sleep and get some extra rest.
Stalking out. I need to build gun.
Kennedy is gone to bed. Or he's gone upstairs, rather. He's drinking with the boys. So you'd be on your own building gun.
Okay, you're twisting my arm. I'll listen in.
All right, you're kind of awkwardly standing there as you can hear people talking about things that, like, there's no benefit to you being, like, eavesdropping. Like, it's genuinely, like, you're hearing people's conversations and they don't hear you, and all that you're getting of extra information is, like, yo, like that time I farted on that dude's face. Yo, you remember that time I stabbed the guy in the neck? Like, those kinds of conversations where it's like, okay, there's no reason for me to be eavesdropping.
Right.
And quietly, are you going to go upstairs, or are you just going to go to bed?
I'm gonna quietly listen, just in case Otto is brought up.
Remember that time Sun got launched off the dock by the Chroma Core?
And, in case they're like, haha, let's try and rip apart Otto, Sun's favorite creation. I bet that would really hurt him deep inside.
Yo, look at what I can make Otto do. Do a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, in case any of that happens, I feel like is mainly why he's listening in.
What's going on above decks, then? It's getting closer to the late night. You can see that the ships that are circling the main one have rafted up the main one for a brief period. Presumably there's a commander giving orders, and then they've opened up. They're doing one last far sweep, but their far sweep it's naive. They don't catch you. And then they kind of raft up for the night. What's the
Time to party it up.
Yeah! I want to hear you guys whoop and holler.
I went to bed, so
Oh!
that's on you guys.
Oh no!
Okay, so Crowquill, you make your way downstairs, and you listen for things people don't. You listen for things like room tone, and there's definitely someone awkwardly standing in the belly of the ship right now.
Hi, Tiana. Or is that Sun?
No, I think you're talking to Tiana. She's up on the deck.
So, Jane, you hear this.
I'm on the deck, aren't I?
Mhm.
Okay, okay.
Son, why are you just standing there awkwardly?
Oh, you know,
You're not working. Or, like, sleeping.
you know, just
You're
such a
just
thing as
standing here.
such a thing as overworking. You know.
Yeah, son, you could come up here and talk with us.
No, I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed.
Alright, let's
Okay.
head to bed, and I put Warbles in the little cubby.
How much do you remember of Celestia?
Never been?
You're lucky.
Yeah, well. Debatable.
There's a bit of
Fair
a
point.
groan as you can hear Rooker making his way down, and he goes, "Talking about the island?"
Yeah. That. I mean, a matter of speaking.
Rooker gives just kind of like a quiet nod. He hesitates on the way back into his room.
Well, I'm not looking forward to going back, I guess, is all.
No one said we're going back. We're at the southern end of Soth. This could be the location that they decide to mount. I mean, it's not Imperial Soth, but they could be taking Soth.
Well,
Rooker
let's
gives.
hope so.
Rooker looks at you, son, and he gives you a look that, in any other context, any other person would not consider warm, but you consider it a warm look, and he looks at you and goes, "We have way too many explosives for them to take us." And he quietly goes back into his room.
Well, let's hope that's true. Let's hope that's true. But
And you kind of like sigh, and the way that someone else might be like, "Okay, hair, wash the face, take off any makeup, brush the teeth," like you're there and you're like, "Okay, check gunpowder stocks, make sure everything is in order within the workshop." And you look, and it's like powder barrel 1, powder barrel 2, powder barrel 3, powder barrel 4, powder. Oh yeah, no. If they try, we blow them up. No, you are way too full of explosives for them to even try.
well, feel a little better.
And you look over and you see like a couple of finished and a couple of half-finished like zip guns, and you see your own shotgun kind of laid up next to your bed, and you see like the multiple slides half filled with cannonballs leading into the apparatus. You can hear the quiet humming of like above decks auto like just scanning the nearby area. Probably got enough power. Probably safe.
And you know, I try to reassure myself of that. But even looking at all that, there's still just that little twinge of what if?
You brush a little dust off the workbench and head to bed. You guys wake up later than you should, but Bill G and Rook are up early. They keep an eye out and they inform you basically like they did another of those like raft meetups, and then they did a far sweep that wasn't good enough the way that people do when they're naive cops, and then they kind of like at this point they've been puttering around for long enough that they're probably going to start going soon. You guys are awoken around then.
Okay.
All right, let's get this ship ready and let's get this ship in shape and let's ship off with after the other ship.
It's the way you left it, discarded beer bottles and all.
All right. I'm firing up the sails. I'm not even waiting for breakfast. I'm getting the ropes ready. I'm doing all the ship stuff.
All right, you make your way up, and you get like a really uncomfortable. Roll me brawn, grace, or delicate, and tell me what.
Brawn. I'm good at brawn. When I rolled, can't go wrong. I went wrong. That is a 23.
23. You hack up another kind of chunk, and there's definitely a lot of gray, but you sense some more like greenish yellows. A bit of time outside of the munitions room is doing you good, especially with the salty air.
I shout aloud to whoever will listen. Hey, I coughed up some green for once.
Otto kind of whizzes over and goes, "That's 23% more G on the RGB."
Hey! I go to give him a high five on his armor plate.
He gives you a really rigid clunk with full servo strength against the side of your leg.
Ooh, that's a shit. Ooh.
What's everyone else up to?
I am going to be doing a little bit of training on this because I'm proud of that ritual that we cast, and I would like to maintain it. So I'm just going to practice the maintenance of this ritual throughout the morning.
All right, so you're not like casting. You're just doing like your.
Yeah, I'm not trying to improve or anything like that. I'm just maintaining the ritual so it keeps going, and it's also just good practice for me.
Go for it. What is Jane up to in the meanwhile?
Probably seeing what the hell Sun's up to. Like,
you take a look, and you can see that Sun is kind of like, hoo, like way too proud of himself for still knowing how a boat works. Like, you're looking around, and it's one of those things where you're like, okay, congratulations, you adjusted the sail. You quietly make your way over to the wheel. You're like, okay, buddy. You see him like hack up something. You see Otto look really excited and give like a little like above the head, like a clunk, a little like display readout, and then clunk it back down. Sun seems excited and then throws something into the ocean. You see a little like tissue float by in the water.
okay.
Kroko, what'd you get?
Oh, I rolled a 21.
21. You're making sure that all the magic is consistent about the boat. You feel now, especially things are tidier now that you've cleaned all the extra sailing magic off. Sailing magic is powerful, but it's very grimy. It gunks up in a way. So now you have a very clean kind of concealment about the ship. You can feel that there's a magical, not like a sapient presence, but a magical presence, a different category of thing within the apparatus, and a similar one kind of linking Otto to you. It isn't fully there in Otto, it's more like linking off of you like a nodule. You can feel otherwise that there's like a bit of ritual cast about places. You can feel that there's some residual magic on Bilgi, who's also got a bit of like wards and guards upon himself. You can feel like a lot of magical potential coming off of him, like he's got a couple of spells that he's expecting to cast, but he hasn't yet. Things are otherwise, like there's no curses, there's no tracking, there's no scrying. The ship is magically clean and everything is in order.
It's a good ship. Quality ship.
Definitely you hear Bilgi go, "Yar." It gets close to the early morning. Overnight, there was a bit of a rain that came, but not enough that you really have to bail much in the morning. If anything, you're kind of like, a bit of bilge water didn't hurt to keep the ship balanced out. The wind starts going starkly southward to your benefit. The Imperial ships are still well off the coast. As long as you putter around near the coast, you have the wind at your advantage, so you can probably stay inconspicuous.
I say we take it. I'm feeling confident.
Try to get a gain on them?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
All right. Make your way over to the old map screen.
We got the map.
You make it 2.5 squares down the coast before you have to tuck away. You can see one of their patrol ships obviously is a little bit suspicious, and it's veering away from the group to kind of close off towards you. You're able to get enough distance. You can see that nearby there's a small village, one that you can see from banners and colors is Soth friendly. You can see like the navy and white. So the ships aren't going to get too close, but there's one of the Imperial patrols that's kind of investigating a bit closer. And near the ship, the 4 patrols are now coming closer to 3. Now it's like a triplicate of them circling around and patrolling the ship.
Ooh, we think we're gonna have to talk to somebody.
I mean, maybe we just duck in and pretend like we're dropping off a shipment.
That's a good idea. Yeah, let's just hang tight and go to this little village over here.
All right, you make your way in close enough that like nearby there's what you see is clearly like someone's teenage kid who like notices someone getting into the dock and kind of lazily stretches, is looking at you every 2 seconds to see if he still has to do his job, and he's making his way over to like the dockyard to go, "Hey, quartermaster, dad. At this point, like, no one's been awakened yet. The Imperial ship goes off to rejoin the cruiser, and you guys peel away from the ship, and then the guy kind of just shrugs and goes to sit on a nearby barrel and goes back to reading his book.
That does bring up an interesting question. If this dock exists, what the fuck is the point of the blockade? Like, I know they can't get to Dagger Bay, but...
Well, it's not exactly a large port. I mean, if you were trying to deliver anything to Soft, you'd have to unload here and load it all onto wagons, and then Dagger Bay is one of the bigger ports. You know, it's...
The soil around here is amazing if you're looking to grow things like sugarcane and rice. It's very like waterlogged, low and muddy, but it's terrible for shipping goods. It behooves you to go through the blockade as opposed to trying to unload here, just because of the fact that like genuinely, like some horses might not even be willing to brave like all that mud, let alone a wagon.
Okay, fair enough.
If anything, this is kind of just like a small fishing village that must be kind of self-sustaining at best.
Okay.
You see
Cool.
You see the escort with the Imperial ship continuing to move kind of vaguely westward, continuing around the coast a little ways. By now, it's getting closer to the like mid-morning area. It's still not noon yet.
Graph.
You can hear Rutger kind of like shuffling, getting some clanging and banging done, and then there's a bit of a settling, and then he goes, "Breakfast?"
Yes, please.
Breakfast.
Breakfast.
You hear a grumbling, and then he pops his head up from beneath the hatch, and he goes, "That wasn't a yes or no question. Like what breakfast?"
We got any salted pork?
At this point, you hear like Kennedy and Tiana go and like slamming against the edge of the ship, like female bacon, female bacon, female bacon.
And a slice of lemon.
I vote for the bacon too.
Bacon.
At this point, like Rutger's like, "Okay. Also, why doesn't everybody explain to me why you keep calling it female bacon? It's just from pig. It doesn't matter. I don't know." There's a clunk, and he goes back down.
Leave it
We're
to the
never
freaking
telling 'em.
Canadians to love the female bacon.
We're never telling them.
There's a quiet grumbling beneath the belly of the ship, like female bacon. I think this one's literally from a boy, don't you? There's some vaguely Slavic fretting going on below decks right now. Meanwhile, how are we doing on the maps here?
We are in a tiny
it up.
town. A village, to be precise.
The wind shifts pretty dramatically. It's now going north, like northeasterly. You can still move against it, but you can see the Imperial ship slowing just enough that, sure enough, the wind is... See, I keep saying whenever you guys complain about bad wind, how like, oh, you never say anything when the wind's good. The wind has been nothing but in your favor this entire adventure. By now, the wind is against you, but it works really well for you guys to be a small maneuvering ship, like catching up on a lazy grouping of ships, like making their way along the coast.
Yeah, but despite it basically going westerly this entire time, this is still ruining the entire experience, Will. This one thing that's not even going directly against us.
You move 2 squares, just enough to edge your way into... Which one would that be?
E9?
Yeah, E9.
Where the heck? There it is. Now where the heck is E9? That's F, E.
E?
E. E.
You can see distantly the scaffolding of a few, like, big wooden and rope bridges that make their way over a few, like, rougher areas. Some of the bits where the bridges, like, go over some bridges, they go down into more like boardwalks than bridges. A little ways ahead of here, you can see that there's probably another fishing village, and you know from the maps there's probably a few more, and then that's going to be the edge of Soth, and you're going to get closer to the crack. The weather gets a little bit more rough from here. Odds or evens?
Evens!
All right. Which behooves you more, rain or clear skies? Would you rather tail them longer, but with the cover of rain to catch up on you and maybe even get close enough to surveil them a little? Or would you rather get to your destination as fast as possible?
Sun wants the first one, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, probably. I prefer rain.
Yeah.
Hazily, like there was a tension as it was blowing against you, and then there was a little bit of storm that was pulled up with a bit of that northerly wind that you pulled around the head of Soth with. And now finally the storm is lazily, heavily, heavingly bearing down on you. It's one of those things where you see it coming. In hindsight, it's rapid, but because of the billowingness of the clouds, like you go, okay, it's rain time, and you're well and easily battened down by the time like it goes from spit to heave to glob to hammering against the ship. There's an initial wave, and then once you're in the storm cloud, it eases up a bit. You guys are kind of daring. You're willing to go into the storm a little bit more than most might be. The ships that patrol with this host ship might be willing to brave the storm as well, but they're rafting up with the host ship for the storm.
Okay.
What's the plan?
Bilgewater rides.
Bloodwine rides again!
All right. You ease your way in, slowly but surely, all of you keeping an eye on the sails, trying not to be pulling too much, trying not to tip too much with all the wind and all the heaving of the waves hitting the ship. There's lurching, and you have to be a bit careful. You have to be really slow and steady. Who's on the steering wheel right now?
Probably me.
In particular, it's not just strong, the current you have to fight with to keep things steady, it's jerky. It's very much like fighting a fish as you're trying to reel it in, you're keeping the bilgewater steady. That being said, you guys are steady against the storm. You get close in enough that you can see that all of them... There's a few soldiers that are annoyed, it looks like, naval soldiers like stationed next to all of the ships, making sure the gangplanks don't sink. But this was clearly something that was thought of by a commander that's never really had to sail his own ship. Like, there's literally a couple of soldiers on the edge of each ship, like, adjusting the ropes and then, like, making sure to push back with the edge of their spears, like, trying to raft in the storm, when really you should be staying a distance away from each other and trying to anchor out. You guys, however, are productive dumbasses, and you're just fighting against the storm. Who is bailing?
Me, pick me! I'm strong!
Alright, so just at the base of where the ladder is, there's a hatch you open that's like You don't open it often to get down to the bilge, but it's right in front of the kitchen. So you head down, and you get a bucket out, you heave it over up the ladder. Is anyone bailing with you, or are you bailing alone?
Is Rooker done his cooking?
Yep.
Then I'm gonna take over for cleaning on that one, and I'm gonna let Rooker do whatever he wants to.
All right. In that case, Rooker takes over below decks, and Sun, you're above decks at the base of like the hatch that goes onto the deck, and you're heaving the buckets out and then passing them back as Rooker goes to lift them down. He has more arms. He has more arm reach. Better for the whole thing. As you get closer and closer, you can see that they're not up to anything. They're not taking people above decks. They're not having any big meetings. They're not cleaning weapons. If anything, they're not even keeping that close an eye out. You can see that there's like gaps somewhere in the ship where like there must be battened down like portholes. So there's something happening below decks. Not anything rowdy, not anything bright, but like things are lit up. It must be full there. By now, the storm is odds or evens?
Odds.
Do you want more or less time?
That's up to you.
Do we want more time to track this thing, or do we want it to take less time? Or is it more time in the storm or less time in the storm? I'm not sure what the ask was.
Both of the things that you just said kind of one-to-one each other, where like the yes and no are the same for both questions. If the storm stays longer, you have more time to do recon because you're a smaller, more maneuverable ship that can handle heavier winds. That being said, if the storm breaks earlier, then you can keep tailing them and they can get to their destination sooner.
I say we break. We don't want too much rain.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, you ease off and get ready for the rain to stop, but it doesn't. It keeps waiting a while. By now, it gets closer to the late morning. What's everyone up to?
Well, I'm still bailing, if there's bailing to be doing.
Yeah, I guess I'll,
You could keep bailing. You could get back to building things if you wanted to. Kennedy is himself kind of like... In particular, you notice that he likes to check up the furniture. You don't really see why, but he's always like checking on screws throughout the ship.
Well, I mean, if you're someone that tends to rely on furniture for upright stability, I can't blame him. I'm gonna go craft. I'm gonna sneak away and craft.
Yeah, the last thing you would want is to be that kid in elementary school who sat on the chair and it broke.
No, exactly.
You can hear, like, Kennedy's trader tongue isn't that great, so it kind of, like, you can tell that it must have been some sort of poignant expression in, like, Western, but it comes out as, like, I wobbly, chair wobbly, we know each other. And then you close the door into the munitions room.
You wobbly, chair wobbly, know each other indeed.
Give me a roll.
All right. Well, let's see. That is a 4 plus 2 plus 1 plus 6 plus 15. It was just like a 28. 28.
All right. Where does that put you? Kennedy is up to other stuff.
I'm almost there. Oh, so close to having second gun done. Like,
you could have used Kennedy to like tighten a few screws, but these things are firing once and then everything within the mechanism comes loose and potentially needs to be replaced altogether. You're not that picky. This thing's mostly good. You just need to finish off the actual like packing of the round.
Yep. There's literally 2% left.
Odds or evens? Long odds, I should say.
Long odds. Okay, I'm going long odds, evens. And I'm rolling, and I got 2 odds. No!
Storm is remaining there, nice and firm through noon. Rooker comes back down and starts cooking dinner or lunch rather. He actually sits there and goes like, and then shrugs. You can hear him going like, I don't even know what time it is. As he puts a bunch of sausages like back into like a barrel and packs it back down and takes something else out and kind of like shrugs, going, lunch, I guess. He just starts frying up some fish, kind of standard work and lunch. The rain is still going pretty hard. What's everyone else up to?
Ship stuff.
Yeah. What else could I do?
All right, all of you give the ship back and forth. You do some bailing, and then there's a point where all of you are kind of sitting there with a bucket, looking and listening at the bilge, kind of waiting for it to be full enough for you to keep bailing, and then you realize that you're all just kind of sitting in the belly of the ship in the middle of a storm waiting for time to pass.
I know that feeling.
You
Yeah.
have failed to pass the 2-hour chunk. What do you do?
Like, there's really just, like, it's genuinely, like, I'll just be on the sail, fixing the sail, and then that's about it. Because, like, I can't take the wheel when it's so jerky of a wind. 'Cause that's not... No. I probably can't even take the sails when it's a jerky of the wind, because I have 0 physical stats and would barely be able to anticipate it. And so I would just be like doing the ropes and then just whoop.
Yahoo!
Next thing you know, yeah,
Flying off.
Coco flying through the air.
All
Yeah.
of you are
Pirates of the
muttering-
Caribbean style.
Yeah, exactly.
Air Croquill.
All of you are muttering about ropes, kind of whipping about the ship. You can hear Rooker like sizzling things up, and as he's trying to get stuff off the spatula, you can hear him off the end of the pan going like ding 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 ding. Keeps frying things up. Sizzles it down. What's everyone up to? Still trying to pass the time.
Craft.
All right, so all of you see Sun kind of like hup, then Ken and Ye like hup. Both of them go off to the munitions room.
Sitting there, just watching the rain, and then it's like an internal timer goes off, and it's alright, break's over. Time to fill our lungs with coal.
With plus 22 from Ken and Ye.
Plus 22. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. 7. Plus
a fuck ton.
4. 2 plus. Woohoo! I finished a gun!
Now you're 2 guns.
Now I'm Johnny Two Guns. Alright, well. Hopefully, my goal is to have at least 3 of them to arm it. Hopefully 3 NPCs. That feels like a good amount of NPCs to give gun to.
So at what point do you just become like Reaper from Overwatch, where you just drop the guns and pull out more?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're compact, and I think... I might have to check the rules on that, but I believe the Knave benefit allows you to carry... No, it used to, but it used to allow you to carry like 10 compact weapons.
Yeah, I remember
if you just
something
exchange those
like that.
for
So there was
compact guns.
There was a LARP I went to where the rule number 1 of all the rules was like it's the opposite of like rule like general beat specific, like any of that kind of stuff. This one was genuinely just like the spirit of the rule beats the rule as written. Like,
Yeah.
there is an obvious what it's supposed to be that beats the rule. And I feel like I just had a brain moment. What were we talking about?
Lots of guns on your person.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with the Knave benefit, like, if you're going to be John Wick and have 6 pistols and get the Knave benefit, I feel like the spirit of the benefit is for you to parry with pistols and throw empty pistols at people and have it bounce off their heads and kick people's pistols and catch them. Like, I presume at that point, that's your deal? Like,
Yeah,
if you're sitting
that's
there
your whole
going,
thing.
how many pistols can I
that's
carry
a
with me?
character concept.
You and your GM both know what you're talking about, right? You and your GM
Yeah.
both know.
Yeah.
If anything, that might be something for, like, if Bilgy wasn't an NPC and I slapped the stats whenever you guys ask Bilgy for stats, like, that would kind of be Bilgy's build. It's just like a bunch of those and then a couple of cutlasses.
Not as many as he can fit on his person.
Yeah.
You never know when you're going to need them.
He's a little
He's
tiny
a pirate.
rat
Or
man, so, you know.
flintlocks. Like, you reload them when you have a free half hour.
Yes. Goodness gracious. Poor pirates. Flintlocks were terrible.
They really were.
So you're
Don't get it
sitting
wet.
You're sitting there joking about flintlocks as you, like, burst through the munitions room. You and Kenya both doing fucking, like, pistol poses with these, like, pop guns before you go, like, and back in the foam-lined case they go, and you put them and clunk, lock them away. Close the door behind you guys. It looks like the rain is starting to fade away, and you can see that, like, distantly there's some shapes that look like people are working, and there's a big heave as a sail is slowly opening up. It looks like the Imperial ships are moving again.
I guess we're on the move.
So it would seem.
All right. It is the early afternoon. What's everyone up to? The wind is going dead north.
Is it still raining? Or
It's
is
like
it
the
eased up?
spit end of rain, where if you want it to be raining for the purpose of, like, wiping things off your face or, like, things be wet, it's still raining. But for sailing, like, you're going, oh, it's fine, kind of thing.
Like, because I want to check on the ritual again, because now it's sort of rained out, and it's just like, okay, let's make sure that nothing got washed out or anything like that. Let's just keep this concealment.
Oh, exact opposite. This is where your ritual is the safest. If you have a lot of mist and old rain and spit and clouds and fog, that's when this kind of concealment ritual really works to your benefit.
Okay, no, but I want to make sure that, like, the ritual is still holding and nothing got, like, washed away by the rainwater. In sort of how you want to keep your driveway clean in a snowstorm.
Yeah.
Like, the snow is now gently falling, so let's go out and shovel the driveway. I didn't go out in the middle of it raining, because what the fuck's the point?
Yeah, like, you did it so that you could say you've done it.
Yeah.
So you make your way out, you kind of tap the railings, you give it a good yar. It's pretty yar.
Okay. As long as it's still pretty yar.
Want to pull up the map real quick there?
Alright.
Alright. So you make it about 3 squares. The ships themselves are catching the wind okay, so you aren't really able to keep close to the coast per se. You're behind them, but so is the storm, so they don't really notice you quite yet. If anything, you've gotten a bit closer than you think you'd be able to, but they haven't really caught wind of you yet. In fact, you might be able to push it a bit further. The ritual is feeling strong. Currently, it's the late afternoon. What's everyone up to?
Well. How far away? Like, we're a good distance away. Like, we're not right on top of them, eh?
No, you're, in fact, like, the way that you're trying to do things... Chelsea, do you remember when Jane was trying to figure out if the world was convex or concave, that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was last?
I think it
Was
was
it flat? Was it?
I think it was pretty flat.
I think it was pretty flat, too.
So looking out in the distance, basically you're trying to keep it so that you're against the nearest landmass, so with the flatness you can benefit from being obscured by kind of like the thickness of the air. You can see their bulge out from a distance as long as you cling to the coast. Currently, the curvature of the Earth's helping you that way.
Okay.
Would anybody thinking about this stuff, like, allow their brain to think about it a bit further?
No.
No.
I'm so incredibly focused on the ritual. I don't care about concealment any other way. I don't deal with that. I deal with the magic stuff. They can deal with the physical aspect of actually putting the ship in a stealthy position.
It is an old adage when it comes to like map making and cartography and like figuring out the distance based on stars and stuff. It's like, don't think about the math. People just kind of look at you with a really desperate look, like, don't think about the math. You're still concealed, and you don't think about the math.
That's good.
So, where are we on the map? By now, you guys are keeping a good eye out. You've relaxed a bit. You're settling into the stakeout. You're not getting that much work done, but things are cozy. The anxiety's settling. Here, near this point, you could actually blend in with the fisher folk, depending on how the wind goes. It looks like the wind is going exactly where it needs to, and it's pulling you, like, southwesterly. The Imperial ship is taking full advantage and pulling in the wind, but as long as you keep, close to the coast, you might be able to even get close enough for a new ambush spot. There's a lot of fishing boats that you could easily pass off as here in this kind of point.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I say we do that, kind of blend in.
Does it look like they're going to curve around the island, or does it look like they're going to head more towards the crack?
It looks like they might be heading south, like dead south.
Okay. And is that towards Celestia, or is that hinting at Soth? Because I can't remember where Celestia is exactly on the map.
Geographically, it gives you that exact anxiety.
Great! Love you, son.
If it pulls towards Soth, your point of surveillance would be highly advantageous. If it pulls towards Celestia, it'll leave you on the back foot again.
Well, it's not like we were praying for Celestia anyway.
I'm still putting my money with Soth. I'm really hoping that it's Soth.
That's what they said at port.
It's what they said at port.
Tiana kind of shrugs and goes, all aboard for Imperial Soth? That's on the other side of the island, isn't it?
Maybe they're going the long way around.
When have we known the Imperials to tell the truth?
Maybe they're getting paid by the hour.
Paid by the hour so they do a victory lap of the island?
Yeah, I mean, it could happen.
I love when people refer to, like, oh yeah, be paid by the hour, so really bilk them for the time. Because, like, my experience of being paid by the hour is the exact opposite, where, like, your boss tries to get you to clock in as close as possible to you starting your work.
Time is money.
Yep.
My old work, it literally used to be, like, there's a long walk between where the punch card is and where the concession stand was in the movie theater. The punch card was right next to the concession stand. If you left your break, you got as much unpaid time in the walk to and from the break room as possible before you checked in and went right to the concession stand. It was right next to the manager so they could watch you check in.
Yeah.
Sociopathic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, like, some of the more control-obsessed managers, the ones that you, like, you know, if you've had enough managers, you know those managers, the ones that, like, enjoy the fact that they have that power over you, like, they'll watch you clock in. They'll comment on the fact that you're, like, a minute early or a minute late. Nasty shit.
I'm glad I never had those managers. I've never had to clock in. That's never just been a thing.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to go for trying to get a spot early then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. You unfurl your Genoa sail to try to get a bit of extra wind. At this point, you're moving ahead of the boat and kind of hoping that you'll be in the right spot for it. You catch the wind very well as it's heading just the right direction you need right around the coast, and the geography helps kind of pull the wind in this like curve that even assists you a little bit around as well. You make it to the very edge of the next square downwards, so that would be E10, I believe.
What?
You would be correct that is in fact E10. Where the hell is E in my file directory? There we go.
10.
From here, you can pick a spot where you could hide. You're far enough ahead of the boat that you would be able to kind of like settle in somewhere in the sector before they catch you. Based on the geography, the grayer areas are rockier where you would have like a firm crag to hide behind. The greener areas are more like muddy lowlands.
We seem to do well in the rocks and crags.
Yep.
Thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think I'm not afraid of no rock. I ain't afraid of no crag.
Alright, so you guys barely move. The moment that you get past around the point and like where the fishing villages can't see you, you kind of duck around a small crag. You don't go much further. By now, it gets closer to noon. Lunch is ready, and you're sitting there kind of eating a bit of fried fish as you watch these ships go far around the coast. The way that you are, especially the fact that... Actually, good question. You guys are a boat. How are you remaining inconspicuous as a boat?
Well, you know, sailing casually.
Fly casually, it's fine.
Bilgy gives you a look. A slightly condescending one, but a bit like, okay, let Grandpa Pirate take over. The kind of thing that could give you spite if you were so inclined.
Sure.
I don't notice it.
I'm not full of spite.
No, you're full of phlegm and gunpowder.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean...
Alright, so you guys are quietly eating up some fried food as Bilgy kind of captains the ship a little bit and gets you guys to hold a pattern. While you guys are eating, and the other portions are kind of sitting there, still hot, but not being eaten, begrudgingly the rest of the crew is keeping a very slow, very loose-sailed, kind of trolling, cycling figure 8 pattern. Almost like you might have a net behind your boat, like you're fishing. You get to a point where the Imperials clearly see you, but they kind of go, oh, okay, and they keep going. They're still heading down the coast.
It's weird. We keep seeing this ship that has, like, this symbol of a bird holding a bucket on it, but, like, I don't know, it must just be a Soth thing.
I will say, counter-argument, describe the last red car you saw.
I haven't seen a car in ages.
Well, to be fair, I know like there's a red car in my parking garage that's a Tesla. But
and also if we're just going by cars, since I work building car websites, it was a Mazda CX-5.
Okay, I see that I have looked at my toolbox of analogies and gone, the worst one.
I understand what you mean, though.
For sure.
We flubbed the roll, but we all know the roll was low. We'll count it as that. All right, it's closer to the early afternoon. They're ahead of you again. You've had time to kind of sit, laze about, ease up on the ropes a bit, get a bit of rest, and you're behind them again. The wind has shifted, and it's heading directly north against them. They're starting to slow up, but they don't seem to mind. You can see that, in fact, like they're normally circled by 4. 2 of them have started fanning out and going up and down the coast. They're not searching for you. They're way ahead of you, kind of almost like they're trying to find a place in a map.
Ooh. This looks suspicious. I better go build about it.
Kennedy kind of shrugs and he's like, I'm paid to think, but not that kind of think. You have plus 21.
It's 21. All right.
Good job, Kennedy.
Ooh.
Where are we at?
We have
Number?
half of another gun done.
Alright, can you use in the middle of fighting out the last of like the trigger mechanism pieces? They aren't assembled. You've got the central kind of tube ready, and you've got like the actual handle part. The rest of it is mostly assembly as well as packing the actual munition, but you're good to go. This one's ready for the most part for the next stage of it. You're almost at 3. You're probably going to have 3 by the time you get there. What are the rest of you up to?
I don't know. I feel like at this point it would be suspicious of me to scout with warbles.
He's a bird.
Yeah. Nah.
I mean, to be fair, crows aren't exactly seafaring birds.
Yeah. And like, we don't really need to scout. It's in our line of sight. We don't really need to have the same sort of like big time scouts that he did. And I'm definitely not sending him to be like, give me ears on the ship kind of thing. I don't trust that.
You're close to the land though.
Yeah.
And you're close to the sea, and you're a druid.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna like send warbles out over land, and I'm not gonna.
You're not putting too many eggs in one basket. You're not risking it. You're just going, the plan is working. That's all we need.
Yeah. Pretty much.
All right. What about Jane?
Just waiting it out, basically. Like,
Waiting it out.
yeah, just waiting on stuff to happen.
All right. So all of you
Waiting to take the shot.
Yeah, like, polishing her crossbow another time.
So you guys are back to high pirate energy. Sun is below decks. You're there with Kennedy. You're milling out weapons the way that you often do, and the rest of you are carefully keeping an eye out for what's going to happen next. You're moving southwards, and you know that further inland there's some Sothite settlements, but here it's broadly unsettled. Out in the island, you know that there's an Imperial outpost, but that's about it. This is empty land, as far as anyone's concerned. Just trees, sea, grass. You can see that the ship is still heading southward, a bit slower as the scout ships are looking for the area. The wind pulls back southward again. Here, the wind is really flighty with the edge of the crack, so when it does pull in opposite directions, it isn't subtle about it. It very much kind of flips on you. Here, it starts pulling, and you're able to get a lot of headway, but I imagine you guys are trying to keep it cool, keep a distance, so you're letting the extra wind just go. You're easing up the sails, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. You're moving at the speed of the Imperial ship. At this point, you're able to gauge, especially because you're trying to keep it at speed, that if you really needed to, you could zip past this thing. You make it like almost 3 squares, a little bit less than the next, like the 3 square grid line, and you can see them pulling ahead of you. Just enough that if you stop right where you are by a crag, you could see where they're stopping. One of the ships, one of the scout ships, you can see at the edge of your vision has stopped near one of the kind of crags there. And you can see the plume of what looks like a flare going off. Another one of the scout ships goes back and seems to be directing them to cruise in. As it gets closer to the dinner hour, you can see them getting close to the point. They're moving past it, but based on where the plume is, If you wait for them to settle, you could probably use the cover of Nightfall to figure out where they've set down. Unless you guys want to try and get the angle now.
Again, the cover of that is probably best.
Yeah, we
Unless
do
you
seem to
deal with
work
this-
well in the cover of night.
It's our
Or do
classic.
you guys want to start next session with you guys making this decision?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
All right. In that case, we will pick this up next week. There's a lot more question marks. Life is lifey. Sometimes we don't run every week, but you know how it is. We have switched to Tuesdays at twitch.tv/Croden_live. We are
This
at
is true.
youtube.com/Mr. Croden, right? That hasn't
Yes.
changed.
Yes.
YouTube.com.
Yep,
Long!
YouTube.com, which sounds like some weird sort of furry website.
You're right. There's something that sounds aggressive, but not sexual.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like aggressive romantic in the way where you're still going, ew, no, but not in a horny way.
And you could easily describe an animal as having done that. It's yeah. The dog glommed, but like it's fine.
Would it be a clom if someone like said, "Hey, I don't want to date you," and then he showed up outside their house with a boombox playing the song that was playing when he first made love?
That's a clone. That's a big clone.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's just a John Cusack, but you know, whatever.
You think it'd be funny to call him John Ballsack?
I don't think he would appreciate it. Joan
You said
Cusack,
it's
maybe.
funny.
She's a better sense
And
of
I think-
humor.
I think it's about the execution. I think it's about the delivery. I think it's about the timing. And I think it's about the fact that John Cusack hasn't really been in anything for a while. I'm straining, and the last thing I can remember is 2012, the movie.
Oh, I forgot that existed. It's
It was so bad.
there's a part where there's a couple old ladies driving, and he's like beep beep, and they're like, and then he like goes around them and they die.
He was in a
So-
movie that was not a comedy called The Martian that I remember, which was him taking care of a kid that I believe had some form of autism.
Okay,
He
not
wanted to go to space.
The Martian has Tom Hanks in it, and he's in space.
That's not Tom Hanks.
Definitely
but-
Tom
Oh.
Hanks.
Definitely
Who is it?
But no, it was something
Arnold?
like that. It like the John Cusack makes a connection with the kid because the kid wants to go to or thinks he's a Martian or something like thinks he's an alien, and he makes
Wait,
a
is that the
connection
movie
with the
about
kid.
9/11?
No,
Guys, has there
I don't
been a
know any
movie
of
in the
these.
past 2 decades?
What?
Has there been a good movie in the past 2 decades?
Detective Pikachu is pretty fun and good.
Yeah, Texas
Igor,
Pikachu.
an animated film starring John Cusack as Igor.
There we go. Other good films that have come out in the past 2 decades is Ken and Will coming out this Saturday with some more contradiction, I expect. Anything else coming up, Ken?
Yeah.
Oh, Ken and Will are coming out this Saturday?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're both already out, but like, fuck
Yeah,
it.
I remain the same level of pansexual I already was.
Nice.
Yeah, and I continue to also be the same level of closeted pansexual that I have always been.
Now that sounds to me like a contradiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we're coming out as is we're coming out as mystery solvers.
Exactly.
With some
And
FMV beauty.
Yeah, Velma's probably gay.
Also, we've been talking about this behind the scenes, and there's no reason not to. Like, we're doing Night Trap when we run out of contradiction, right?
Yes. Oh, 100% we're playing Night Trap when we run out of contradiction. I've bought it. It is installed. I have been dying to play it.
The game that it... Not the game that invented, the game that spurred the creation of the ESRB.
It's a little bit necessary.
There was a little tid.
Yeah.
Isn't the ESRB those nuns that tell you not to play games with death in it?
Yep.
Okay.
The ones that told me that I had to be a teen to play Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. But you know what? I was edgy enough when I was 10.
Yeah. And the same people that
please,
told me I
no.
couldn't play Mass
I
Effect
can't be on camera
1.
any longer after that move, please.
Okay, fine. Bye.